Don't forget you'll need your AirPods. Yeah, I think so, because we couldn't get the headphones to work.
No, 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 no. I need chords. Um, okay. Try again. I think that worked.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. How's you this morning?
Tired.
No, you didn't want to get up.
I did not.
Good thing we didn't take that last shot last night, and we went to bed when we did.
You always want a shot at the end of the night, and I always have to be the smart one that says you'll regret it in the morning if you do.
Yep. Yep. Last night we didn't talk about it though. We when we took the last shot we had, we said we'd see if we felt like it later, and then we didn't.
Yeah. Well, friggin' Moon Knight, man, that show is it's to me, it's just boring.
We, like I said, we can just give it up.
I just can't get into it. I don't know how much it's going to affect the Marvel universe going forward, but I just cannot get into it for some reason.
I think there's only 6 episodes, so we could just look up what happens in the last three.
I mean, if you want to watch it, feel free.
I'll just do a watch party in Discord.
There you go.
All right, Rich says he's ready. Sending him the link. Yesterday, I was going over the doc and he didn't have a gameplay section. And I was like, Rich, where's the gameplay section? And he was like, we talked about it last time. I'm like, no, we didn't. And he was like, yeah, there's a section in the history about it. I'm like, okay, that was the history. We always do a full gameplay section. And I was just like, uh, I was like, you must have recorded with somebody else because I didn't do a gameplay section last week.
Oh, bless him.
But he went and added it. But he looks like he did a good job otherwise. So he did go in there and add it in.
My sinuses are messing with me this morning.
Hmm. I should be recording this.
I've had to blow my nose like 4 times already.
That's hot.
I know.
What do you want to get into later?
Triangle strategy.
Yep. I was thinking we could maybe finish that story mission we started in Horizon first, and
Oh
then
yeah, that's fun.
then switch over to Triangle Strategy. I kind of want to go by the pool again too, though.
I was actually going to do that while you were streaming.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I would have to in stream pretty early.
Just in stream around like 2 and then come out and join me by the pool.
I might do that.
Just tell everybody like, you know, since they had so long with you Friday that you're cutting it short today to come hang out with me by the pool.
Yeah. The only thing is, I'm playing Radical Dreamers today which I have a time limit on to finish. So
I mean, you'll have next Sunday and this whole week.
true. Hi, Rich. He's not connected yet. Hey, bud, you with us?
I am.
There he is. Okay.
Sorry, I was looking at something.
What are you looking at?
The stupid
His
Zoom
porn
stuff.
tab.
Well, yeah, duh.
It is too early for that, Rich.
It's never too early for that.
Yeah. How are you, bud?
Good. Just up and moving around. I've been up since like 6:30. I've even
What?
showered.
Oof.
Wow. Why'd you get up so early?
The new dog. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
It's like having a child.
Yeah, we're still learning the potty training stuff. Like he got up. We had people over the house last night or yesterday all day, so their kids were running him ragged. So he slept pretty good, except when we woke up at 6, I was like, okay, we got to go outside. We got to go. And he got to the stairs and he just said, "This is good." And just peed everywhere.
Bless him.
Yeah,
Oh, Bruce.
just learning.
Any progress in the basement this week?
No. Well, no. I flipped the concrete bar top over, so now I have to sand the top of it and put some epoxy on, and it's ready to go. It's ready to be put on the bar.
We were talking about potentially replacing the our countertop in the new kitchen as well.
I don't know if I want to or not, though. Like, at first, I was like, well, if we're going to be redoing the kitchen, I might as well get new countertops. But at the same time, they're like this like shiny black tile, and I wanted to buy black appliances, so I feel like it would, you know, I feel like it would match pretty well. But at the same time, I'm like, I kind of want granite and not tile because it's just easier to clean and keep up,
Yeah.
and it'll last longer than tile. Tile, you can break tile.
Yeah, you can break tile. You could do the concrete stuff that I've done and just put a coloring in the concrete and make it black.
I'm not skilled enough to do that stuff.
I'm not either. I'm surprised half the shit I've done's worked.
I need to add replacing the floor in that Florida room to like the very bottom of the spreadsheet.
I was about to say that's like the lowest priority thing.
Yeah.
One of the first things we need to do that's going to be, it should be relatively cheap, but I feel like it's super important, is when they inspected the house, they went up in the attic, and everybody, you're supposed to put insulation on the floor of the attic for your roof. Down here in Florida, they say that they do the R ratings, and they say that in Florida you should have no less than like a 38 because of all the heat. Ours rated like a 13.
Oh.
So he was like, yeah, you need to get somebody in here, and they'll just spray some more insulation on the floor, and it's no big deal, but it'll save you hundreds of dollars on your energy bill.
Yeah.
So that's one of the first things I'm going to do is get a guy out there to fix that.
There you go. I'm going to look into solar stuff too.
You're going to what?
Look into solar panels for my house.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's down the road for us, but
yeah. I think it's smart at some point.
Yeah.
I think that's on the not the solar panels, but the attic insulation. That's on the to-do spreadsheet. But
yeah, that needs to be done quickly.
I'm gonna write it down just in
cracks
case.
me up.
Oh yes, he's got a big old long spreadsheet of it. But the solar panels is actually a great idea, because two of our friends that live down here, they've got solar on their house. And the last time we was hanging out with them, they was like, I mean, they run the AC and everything, and their electric bill is like $38,
Yeah,
which
that's
in
why
Florida is unheard of.
I need to do that at some point. I think it's, with the way cost of living is going up and everything else, it's probably a good idea.
Oh yeah, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
I need to shut my door because I can hear Corey, and that's gonna distract me.
I knew he would. I don't know. I'm surprised he didn't close it to begin with.
Turn this off.
By the way, I forgot to say, Rich, we're not live on Twitch.
Oh, okay. Just
We
because,
decided
in case.
not to mess with it. Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, after what happened last week.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine.
Um, so as far as the episode goes, I think you did a good job. So good job.
Well, thank you. Well, I for some reason I thought we did gameplay already. I was like, okay, but then you like made that comment about it, and I was like, okay, let me go back and look at it. I was like, okay, maybe we didn't cover enough. So that's when I went and wrote that whole long paragraph. I was doing stuff, and I was like, you know what, I could just sit on my couch and do it on my phone. So
Yep.
and I did it. The only problem is doing this crap on your phone through Google's Drive stuff on your Apple doesn't work very well. Like you can't change colors that easily or fonts and whatnot. So
Yeah,
or
yeah, doing it on your phone that would suck.
or I'm just stupid. I don't know how to do those fancy little tips and tricks. So people are like, I could do this all day. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of I can do this all day, Doctor Strange.
Oh, did you finally see it?
Oh, did you go and
Yes.
see it?
Yes.
Okay. What'd you think?
You have to watch WandaVision, of course.
Yep.
So that's key. The motivation though for her, like I like what they did where she went nuts. I just don't like the motivation for it.
That was
I know,
one thing
it's-
I didn't like as well because I know WandaVision kind of ended with her kind of like a broken woman, but I didn't think she was going to go full villain.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
don't,
know
I
you
don't,
saw
I don't
it.
like the villain arc that they're taking her.
Well, I mean, you see her at the
Or they
end of
took
that
her.
series, and they do the end credit and see her doing some weird stuff. So I guess that makes sense. But then I don't know. But that Illuminati group they had, it lasts very long.
No.
Not at
Yeah.
all. And it was such
So
a cool twist, and then they're just in and out of the story.
yeah.
Yeah, they
Well,
didn't use that to their full advantage at all.
Well, I think what's going to happen though is because now they're the same in every multiverse. I'm excited for John Krasinski to be Reed Richards. Like when he showed up, I was ecstatic.
We don't know for sure that that's going to stay, though.
I hope so because him and his wife are the perfect cast for the Fantastic Four. Like as Reed Richards and
Emily Blunt, right?
Yeah, Sue
Yeah.
Storms. I'm hoping that stays true.
That'd be
But
cool.
it's
I
just
saw a meme. Rich, had a picture of Wanda, and then next to it was Jean Grey as Phoenix,
yeah.
and it was like, who would win in a fight? And then the top reply was not Professor X. So
Nope.
he
That
dies
was
against both of them.
that was cold. It's just like it was some good jump scares, but she really made work of every single one. I mean, cuts Captain America or Captain Britain in half.
Yeah.
So that was
Well,
something.
now when you post this, you're gonna have to title the episode of WandaVision or Doctor Strange
Spoilers.
spoilers.
I know. I gotta do that. It's just really well. I got spoiled a little bit on the Reed Richards thing because I saw a meme on my Facebook and I was like, is this really true? And I went and looked at IMBD and I saw him as a credit on it. I was like, son of a bitch.
That sucks.
So
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay. I'm excited for that's the only thing I liked about and one of the top things I liked about that movie is because seeing him because
So
I'm a
what-
big huge fan of The Office.
So, how do you feel about the movie overall, though?
It was good. You could definitely tell Sam Raimi, his style is all over the place on that because it definitely feels like Evil Dead and everything else. I'm curious on what they're going to do with it now, but I thought it was a good one. I would say it's about a 7.5 out of 10, in my opinion.
Okay.
It's not
Now,
top
That's
tier.
a little higher than what I'd give it.
Yeah, I thought I didn't dislike it, but I was a little let down by it. It was one of the lower things Marvel's put out lately for me.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming off the hype of or the success of No Way Home.
Yeah,
So
which was great.
Yeah, No Way Home was but it's always going to be hard for MCU to follow up after their big releases. Like, how do you follow up with No Way Home? You know?
Oh yeah, and Shang-Chi was great.
yeah, Thor's gonna be hilarious. I think it's
Can't
just
wait
gonna
for
be
that.
just straight up funny the entire time.
I might like
I
Eternals
really hope-
more than Doctor Strange.
Eternals. I would
didn't
put
think about
Doctor
that.
Strange above Eternals
Yeah,
because I mean I liked the movie, but it wasn't just I wasn't like super disappointed or anything.
Yeah,
I
I
just
liked
hope
Eternals more
with
than I thought I was going to, but that's still
Yeah.
I didn't love it.
I just hope with Ragnarok that they don't make it like or not Ragnarok. What is it? Love and Thunder.
yeah.
I hope they don't make it like they try to make it so funny to where it comes off as like cheesy or corny.
Hopefully not. We'll see.
Natalie Portman
But
as
that's like the
She-Thor is
vibe
gonna
I'm
be
getting
interesting.
from Love and Thunder, is that it's just going to be like cheesy.
Yeah, they kind of did the same thing with Ragnarok though. So and that was great.
I loved
Yeah.
Ragnarok though, but it wasn't like over the top cheese, you know.
Yeah.
So you guys caught the scene in Doctor Strange 2 that got it banned in a lot of countries?
The two moms maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like
yeah.
that is the least problematic thing ever. It's just
That's
my
the
mom's.
least gay thing I've seen.
Yeah. Like, and I've seen some pretty gay things, but that is not even close. It's just like, hey, there's my two moms.
Yeah, I'm surprised
And
they didn't
banned.
create an alternate version of that scene for like China or whatever, or just
If
cut it out.
that was just that's the thing. Disney said no. Disney's like, we're not cutting it. We're not changing anything on this, because it's not a bad thing. So, and like all these other countries, like, well, we're not going to show this then. I'm like, okay, fine.
That's really surprising
Alright.
to me because I thought
Yeah.
that they always like bent over backwards to make sure it gets released in China and elsewhere.
I think there's an article that came out that Disney's starting to look at it, goes, okay, we could succeed without China's stuff. Like we can
Nice.
succeed. Who cares? So, which should be the case. Like, why are you changing the message and why are you changing the dynamic just to fit some other country's, deal? Like, I get it. If they don't like it, they don't have to watch it. They don't have to show it. So
Yeah.
Disney is
on
an
them.
evil corporation, but look at them growing up here.
yeah, I mean, it's true. I just was watching for that scene because I saw the articles and I saw a lot of the political stuff happen with it. I was like, okay, how bad can this be? And
Maybe the
it showed it. I
CEO,
was like,
yeah, maybe the CEO is actually trying to send a message, because if he's not going to edit movies to get into China market,
Mhm.
they're at war with Florida right now.
yeah,
So maybe he's just wanting to.
I was about to say, I guess it would be pretty freaking hypocritical to censor their films when they're fighting Florida on the "Don't Say Gay."
yeah. It's just weird to me. It's just the whole thing is insane. Everybody's just doing stupid stuff. But yeah, this whole like, two moms. I was like, oh, it's okay. That's really bad. You just say two moms.
And it wasn't
no.
even like super explicit, like gay romance. Like they were just walking to the garden.
I think they touched hands,
Yeah, maybe.
and that was it. Ooh, scandalous. So
And then there was
that just
also
cracked me up.
Fantastic Beasts 3. I know they edited that so it could be released in China.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Well-
that's about Dumbledore. and
Oh,
Grindelwald,
because
who were-
that's right.
yeah, they were gay
It
together.
is.
So,
It's just dumb. Well, I think now Disney's at the point where they have so much money, they just don't care. They're just
That's
like,
nice.
okay, we're fine. We don't need you.
Such a
So-
nice problem to have.
Yeah. That's real billionaire, or excuse me, trillionaire problems, I should say. So
What's that, Cody? You remember that tweet? It was completely fake. It was somebody like photoshopped it, but it was like Senator Elizabeth Warren, and it was like, "What the fuck is a trillionaire? I'll fucking kill you."
yeah,
and that would be Elon Musk here soon. So
yeah.
well,
Not
Alright,
if
so-
not if Tesla keeps tanking.
he's backing. I think he's backing out of the Twitter thing.
Oh, is he?
I hope
Yeah.
so.
Well, because Twitter, apparently there's a bunch of fake accounts or spoof the banking account somewhere, and he's questioning all of it, which I would be sketchy too. I'm like, what are these things for?
Well, he
Yeah,
said he was
especially-
going to unblock Trump, which isn't surprising. But I'm like,
If he does, he does. Just he'll eventually get himself kicked off again. So
yeah,
hopefully, or he just stops.
okay.
So we shall see.
Fingers crossed.
We
So-
shall see.
On the gameplay, I'm going to be leaning pretty heavily on you guys because obviously I didn't play it. There's probably
dare
some
you.
systems in there I don't even know about. So
There's probably systems in there I don't know about, and I played it. So
yeah,
The only thing I didn't cover in the gameplay is the blazing sword issue, but I'll briefly touch on it. It's
Okay.
just when you use it, you start to die. So
gotcha.
I forgot.
I don't think I actually ever really used it.
So for the RPG club, since we're doing story, gameplay, and ratings today, I'm kind of thinking that we might want to split that off into its own episode or mini episode. We can see what time it is when we get done with the ratings, but
Well, let's see. As long as we don't, in this section up here, the RPGs released past week in the news section, I feel like as long as we don't, hang around that too long, we're only covering 3 sections.
Yeah, it
and
shouldn't
then
be
the
too long.
gameplay.
Okay, we can play it by ear, but it always takes longer than we think. So,
Let's say if this episode, if we get to the end and we're at an hour, we'll do RPG Club next week. But if we're below an hour, we can go ahead and cover it.
oh, we're gonna record it today.
Yeah,
it's
it's just
okay.
we'll release it separate.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yep. All right.
Is there any new feedback in the Discord? Speaking of that,
I didn't see anything pop up this
Okay.
morning, so I think
All
we're
right.
okay. And we did get feedback on the Tales of Our Eyes because I don't know if any of our people have played it, so
Oops.
I just kind of said, you know what?
Okay.
It's okay.
Oh,
Well-
wait, we did get. There is a couple new ones, unless
Oh,
you
there
added
is?
some. Did you
When did
get ROB and Kai
When did that pop in?
yesterday after I added what was?
Oh, see, this morning I didn't see it there. Okay, hang on.
Is it in, it's in show feedback?
It's
No,
in,
it's in
the
club
club
feedback.
channel.
Oh, the club channel.
There you go.
There's Rob K's.
God, got a bunch of feedback.
Bold and
Yeah, usually we don't get this much feedback.
people are really into this club. It seems.
I like how Disa wrote an entire chapter.
She also wrote a review of Eurovision.
Oh, she did. That's right.
See, and here's the bad part. Eurovision, I thought it was not a real thing because of the Will Ferrell thing, or Will Ferrell movie that he did on Netflix.
What
I didn't know it was
Eurovision?
real. I did. It's like this huge.
Is it like a singing competition?
I think it's a singing competition / like showmanship, and
Apparently, it's huge over there in Europe.
oh yeah, think American Idol on like steroids and the Olympics. So,
Jeez.
because if you watch the movie, the Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams movie on Netflix, it's about that. They're from a small country, I think in Europe, and it's them doing a big deal and like Will Ferrell's music videos that he makes, and that is just epic. But I thought it was not a real thing. I was wrong.
I knew it was a real thing. I just didn't realize how important it was to people.
Yeah, it's been like all over my Twitter timeline. So and I have like no idea. Like you, Corey, I don't even know what it is. So.
It's not a real thing apparently in America. We just don't care. We got American Idol, okay, and
Exactly.
The Voice,
Which isn't even popular anymore.
Nope.
Give me just a sec. I've almost got it.
God, I flew through that coffee.
I'm gonna have to top mine off before we start too.
So where in this doc is the section where you read the feedback?
It's right after the
RPG Club at the end of that section.
Oh, it's at the end of RPG Club. Okay.
yeah, that's
It's
the
gonna
feedback
be-
for just that section.
It's going to be a long episode, boys.
No, we could do this.
That's why we're probably gonna split it. Okay. Here, I'll post in the Discord. Like maybe somebody will give some thoughts while we're recording. I doubt it, but
On Tales of Arise.
Well, we've.
Yeah.
Oh, on Tails. Okay.
I don't
say on.
I don't think anybody finished it though.
I know a couple people have.
Oh, I thought it was just me. And then I know Claire Pie is her name. She hasn't finished it yet. I didn't think.
I think Caslow finished it.
Excuse me. What in there? Where the hell is it? I can't ever keep up with where the damn channels are in Discord and where. Here we go.
Okay. I think I'm good to go.
Go get your
Or
coffee.
We're good to go. Yeah. Let's do a sound test real quick. That's a long party planning. We're at 20 minutes.
You got a lot of quality audio in there.
But
Yay.
That's almost an aftercast. Okay. Check. 1, 2.
Check. Rich.
Check 4.
Heard it.
Heard it.
Let me listen back. That sound really good.
Well, just toot your own horn.
I think we're good.
I'm surprised this blue microphone picks me up as well, considering how far away from it I am.
Yeah. Well, it is sitting right in front of you, but yeah. Okay, let me top off coffee, and then we'll go. Or we'll do it.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Just the microphone. I'm debating on if I want to top mine off too, or if that was a pretty big cup of coffee. Maybe once we get to the break, I'll get a refill. Want me to try? I don't know how to pull it off.
Usually it's because you tightened it. Now I'm embarrassed for Rich.
I wasn't even paying attention.
He couldn't unscrew his lid on his mug, and I had to do it. And he said, "Well, now I'm embarrassed in front of Rich."
Oh, look at you being a wuss there, Scott. It's okay.
Mercy. Bless him. All right.
Okay.
Let me grab a couple of tissues from under here before we start, so I'm not having to move my laptop around. My sinuses have decided to go crazy this morning.
That would be good. All right, boys, we ready?
Let's do this.
Ready when you are.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the RPG After Years, your weekly show covering all things RPGs from the past, present, and future. This is episode 112. I'm Scott.
I'm Rich.
And joining us today is my one and only...
It's Corey.
Welcome back to the show, Corey. Thanks for joining us again.
Oh, look at that. Twice, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah, that's a nice change of pace.
I had to drag you out of bed today, though. So.
Oh, it was hard to get out of bed this morning.
Coming up on today's episode, we're going to complete our review of Bandai Namco's 2021 action RPG hit.
And we will actually conclude our first checkpoint in the RPG Club, Final Fantasy XIII.
Right. And we're reviewing Tales of Arise. It's going to bring a tear to my eye. Since this is a review episode, we won't be doing all of our normal segments. No news, no tea time. Well, actually, there is a tea time if we get to the RPG Club today. But no catch up. Just straight up review goodness. But before we hit that up, here are some quick show updates. Rich, what's going on with the RPG Club currently?
Oh man, the RPG Club. So in case you guys don't know, the RPG Club is a RPG game that our Patreons have voted and nominated. And then we do checkpoints. We break the game up into checkpoint sections, and then we review each of those sections, and then we do a big final review. So the current game is Final Fantasy XIII, which is phenomenal. The current checkpoint as of right now, because we just finished checkpoint 1, we're on to checkpoint 2, is finished chapter 5, which is Gapra Whitewood, after a scene where Snow boards an air bike.
Yep.
Which
so
is
the very
Go
yes. It's you'll see a scene where Snow gets on an air bike, and that is the very last scene of chapter 5.
Yep.
People seem to be confused about when chapters actually end, so being very specific here.
Yeah. Sunday, May 29th is your due date, so be prepared.
Be prepared.
I had the same thought.
I'll also mention there is a little cheeky side RPG club going on in our Discord involving.
Damn it, Bill.
Yeah, exactly. I had the same thought when he put this together. It's like, damn it. It's for Chrono Cross. We're not going to be spending a lot of time on the main show talking about this side RPG club, this bastard club. But people are playing it with a checkpoint system, just like the RPG club. So you can find the link to our Discord on our pinned tweet on Twitter or in the show notes if you want to join in on that. Right now we're playing Radical Dreamers as a sort of a preamble. Speaking of weird build projects, the Materia Lockdown is still going if anybody wants to join on that. It is a charity challenge where your characters in Final Fantasy VII are assigned classes. You can find out more info about that at materialockdown.com. Moving on to the RPG releases. Here's what came out this past week. We got Prinny Presents NIS Classics Volume 2 on Switch in Europe on the 13th, May 13th. Makai Kingdom Reclaimed and Rebound came to PC on May 13th in Europe as well. ZHP Unlosing Ranger vs. Dark Death Evil Man came to PC on the 13th. Little Witch in the Woods entered early access on the 16th. Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song came to everything on May 19th. And Soldiers came to everything on the 19th as well. But what do we got coming up this week, Rich?
So in the coming week, we only have, looks like about 2 of them, which is Nino Kune Cross Worlds. That is the mobile game, May 25th. And then Mag Landlord on the PC, May 30th.
Right.
So not a lot.
Yep. Slow week. But with all that out of the way, let's get after the woman in red and figure out how we're going to save the world. Okay, so we got through the first half or so of the story in last week's episode, and where we left off was literally at the start of part 2 of the game. All 5 lords have been defeated, and our characters are in Ganeth Haros. The Renis Alma has been created and stolen by a mysterious woman in red, and I believe there is a several month time skip at this point. So we're going to pick up after that time skip. Or maybe it's just 1 month. Is it several months or 1 month?
It's 1 month. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It's a month.
All right.
So let's dive back into the after that whole situation. So I love hearing my notes. One of the first part of that, I just put a bunch of letters in there because I was using that to go back my little checkpoints. So the I can't even pronounce that. Aquafudli Hills.
Akfadl
Hills.
I called him Akfadl.
Akfadl Hills. So you're at where we left off was at Ganeth Haros.
Yeah.
So the town's been liberated. The world itself seems like everything is on the right path to keeping everybody on the same
The
level.
characters have basically been spending the month helping the residents of Ganatheros like learn to
Do
not be
things.
zombies, like be
Yeah.
independent people.
Yeah, like think for yourself.
Yeah. So, and also the world itself has changed. So there are no more lords. There's no more of the crown contest. None of that stuff is still going on anymore because you've defeated all the lords. So, like Scott said, is they're learning how to do things. So the next thing that you're going to do with is find the food thief in Delpharis Castle. So what that little quest line is basically is you find there's remnants of Volrom's, I guess his legion, some of his Renan soldiers are stealing foods, not really stealing food, as opposed to keeping the same system in place where the Danon folk are just bringing them food. So you have to go in and clear all that out, and just figure out what's happening with everybody else in the town, just to get them all more self-sustaining. And you have the opportunity to do all your side quests here, the remaining stuff. Have you guys done all that? Did you guys do a lot of the side quests?
We got the platinum. We did
Yep.
everything. So
Look at you all being all fancy. I did not.
First platinum in a long time.
Nice. So once you do all that stuff, this is when the world changes. So things happen. Rena, as if you can actually see Rena in the sky, it's the planet that supposedly were Rena soldiers and everybody's came from. Rena actually transforms. It turns into this giant like satellite looking thing, and it shoots a beam of light down onto Dana, but then shoots a wedge, essentially it's like a spear, into Dana and starts sucking up astral energy in, I would say, probably in massive amounts of forms of
right in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. So you have to then find a ship, take the ship to the wedge, and then you have to fight your way through the wedge to find out what's going on with things. But you discover that astral energy is actually alive. So what do you guys think of that whole deal with
this is where Renwell goes on almost like a spirit quest.
Yeah.
And figures out that like Dana has its own spirit and will, and that's what the astral energy represents.
Yeah. So the astral energy itself, because it talks to everybody, like it starts to say like these things are bad, don't let it happen. It's the astral great spirit. I feel like this is kind of like the Gaia theory, if you guys know what that is, in a sense.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay,
sort of like the live stream in 7 as well.
Yeah, basically. So the Gaia theory is, in case everybody knows, is basically the world is alive and it has its own flow and energy and everything else, and that's what makes the world turn. So the astral energy is being sucked away, and you have a boss fight that basically is warped astral energy of monsters, I want to say, if that sounds familiar to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so you fight that, you figure out that you need to go to Rena after the boss fight.
Yeah, to stop them basically from stealing anymore, right?
Yeah, because the wedge is done. They stopped the wedge. The wedge is no longer functional at the moment, but doesn't mean that it can't come back.
Yeah, and so I guess the wedge was kind of like since all the lords are defeated, like their last ditch attempt was like, well, fuck Dana and just take everything now. So.
Well, I don't think it was their last ditch effort. I think it was the final stage.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
They were doing everything, and the lords were sending up all this astral energy. Now that they had enough, it's time to do the rest of it.
Right. So picking up there, what's the boss fight here? Is it just the wedge itself?
It's the monster inside the wedge.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's a big plant looking thing.
Yeah. So. Okay. I remember that. So they don't really know how they're going to get to Rena, and I think you go back to Ulzbek at this point to talk to the the other resistance members from earlier in the game to try to like get some ideas about what's going on. And what is it? There's rumors that there's like a ship nearby that can get there.
Well, yeah, what they figured out was, Alphen had to get here somehow. But the problem is that all of the ships from Rena are gone. There are no ships or anything to get back to Rena. So they had to figure out a way to get back there. They remembered that Alfin came here not too long ago. Like he showed up about a year or so beforehand. So the ship that brought him here 300 years ago is somewhere there. So they figured, well, let's go back to Olzebek to maybe it's there.
Okay, yeah. So they go to the nearby Berg volcano. This is just a pretty standard dungeon. Um, at the end, you do fight a boss called the Astral Beast Efreet Malum, and I think that's about it there. After that, you do find the ship. It's like kind of covered in foliage. But then we get to what's probably my favorite scene in the game. So in the middle of the night, while they're camping out, Shion decides that she's going to try to take the ship for herself because she doesn't like want their help, and this is like her mission, and she still has trust issues and all that shit. Of course, Alphen catches her, and then they have this big moment where Shion finally unloads on them and tells them like all her feelings. The party is like very supportive towards her and tell her that we've got you, girl, basically. And then of course the vocal theme is playing in the background during this. Corey, I got a little watery eyed. I think Corey full on cried over there.
I got a little watery eyed too because what is it with Ray Chase and campfire scenes? What is
a good point?
Like he delivers such good voice acting when it comes to campfire scenes. Like I don't know if he's just now in his whole entire life, every time he has a campfire, like he goes and does campfires.
He tells a story and everybody cries.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about, him going to first grade or, him losing his first tooth and everybody's just crying. It's so epic. So it was a very traumatic scene.
Yeah. He, like you said, he does a great job at those scenes. And that entire scene, I mean, it was a long cut scene, but it was really good.
Yeah. He like grabs her hands, even though he can feel pain now, and like, I guess just bears the pain of the thorns. And then the rest of the party is also. The only thing I would have changed about this scene is I would have like had all the entire party like touch her or whatever, like a circle of trust almost type deal.
Yeah, I would do that. Are you kidding me? I'd let them all touch her. I'm like, there you go. No, that probably hurts.
I don't think all of them could have taken it.
Yeah.
But Alpha can feel pain, so the rest of them can put up with it. So
he's in love.
Exactly. There's a difference.
Yeah. Like, I guess you could, I would still do it. Are you kidding me? It hurts.
By the way, I've tried to look up this scene on YouTube, and the only versions I can find have the music muted. I'm assuming there's some kind of like copyright thing where Atlas is like, no, can't have this scene on YouTube, which is sad because I want to watch it again. But anyway, so they get in the ship and they take off towards. They go to Linigus first, right? Which is
yes, okay, yeah.
It's
it's the satellite.
It's like a checkpoint, yeah.
Right. So they go to Linigus, and I like how you wrote here, this place is a mess. People don't really know what's going on down on Dana. They seem to be even more like in the dark than more in the dark than you would have thought that they would be about what's going on. You kind of learn that nobody has seen or heard from the Sovereign in a long time, and supposedly he's just back on Rena. And then also there's this weird part where you go around just gathering information from all the Renans, and like you get a scene for each of the now dead lords about how they they were terrible people, but they had redeeming qualities too. And this part was just making me roll my eyes because it's like, no, they were literally slavers. Most of them, all of them were actual like terrible assholes.
They were trash.
Yeah,
they killed people.
You cannot redeem that.
Yeah,
other than Doalim.
Yeah, he's the only one.
And I will say this part of the game might be the worst part of the game for me, because there is a lot of just walking around and talking to people in this section, and it's just very slow part. I thought the pacing was bad here.
Yeah. Well, you also have Dohalim's like family and friends, or not really family, as opposed to like his friend and his ex-girlfriend. That whole scene played out a little bit.
I believe her name is Faria, right?
I think so. Farah.
So you
That
do run
sounds
into
familiar.
this girl that apparently has a history with Doalim, and you kind of get some more on Doalim's backstory during this part too, where apparently he used to play music in the streets with Faria and two of his other friends. But Faria hates Doalim's guts because she blames Doalim for the death of her fiance or whatever who was in the music group with him. Uh, I can't remember the details of why she blamed Doalim though. Do you guys?
Because he killed her, or he killed him. They were doing
Right.
some kind of
Okay.
practice or something together, and they were told, if I remember correctly, they were told not to hold back. And the friend tried to do something that was shady or kind of like unhonorable. So Dolim ended
Yeah,
up
because
killing him
the
by
friend
accident.
wanted to be in the crown contest
Yeah.
too.
Right.
I forget what his name was, but so she blames Doalim, but of course she doesn't know all the facts of what happened. Doalim tells her basically, after I complete my mission here, you can kill me. So,
Yep.
uh, but after they leave her behind, there's a quick scene where the Red Woman appears and basically possesses the Faria girl. So eventually, you learn about a place called the Forbidden Zone, which might have some more information about what's going on with Rena. So you go in there, you get ambushed by Faria, who summons some kind of big Zoogle thing. What is this? The Tormented Limbs? Is that what that part is?
Yeah, that's the tormented. So you through the whole Forbidden Zone is where you learn about the experimentation on Danans. You learn about the like what's happened with some stuff. There's we'll talk about in the next section about the really big twist on things. Um, but it's all about what they're doing and what the sovereign's all about, and they were trying to recreate um, the sovereign. Basically, they were just trying to produce it so no Redens have to be the sovereign. It's all
Right.
Danon people. So
Okay.
that's really about it.
So after this, you do fight the Red Woman, and it turns out that there are many Red Women, and they turn into like these red, almost like crystal looking alien creatures that are like pretty tall, and we'll learn more about what they actually are here shortly. But you do defeat all the Red Women, uh, and also, isn't this where you meet Volron again, or is that a little later on?
Uh, yeah, because right after that, because he's chained up by
Right.
all four limbs.
That's right, by the Red Women,
Yeah,
because they're doing something to him.
right.
So
He's chained up and he's still like threatening us. But then after we defeat the red women, doesn't he do something to like cause the ground to collapse?
he
Yes,
pulls
because he
one
drops.
hand free, I remember, and then it kind of looks like he's dying, and he does make like the bridge collapse. Of course, there's a dramatic moment where Shion almost doesn't make it, but Alphen like grabs her hand as she falls. Of course, Volron's going nuts, and you get the heck out of there. So that brings us on to the next section.
All right. So we now know that we've got to get to Rena. So I forget how, but how we get warped to like a spaceship or a satellite, don't we?
So there's a ship that you're on, and or whatever. I think it's the same ship that you travel to.
That we took.
Yeah, it basically autopiloted the system got overpowered and autopiloted to a nearby satellite off in the distance, away from Rena and away from Dana.
That's
And
right.
you
That's
get
right.
a
I
big
remember that.
visual of what Rena actually looks like.
That's right.
This is the part
Because
where like Rena kind of blooms, right?
yeah, because we're on the
It's starting
opposite
to.
side of the planet now, and you can see where the back side of the planet's completely different than what we thought.
Yeah.
And they use Lenegis as like a satellite to start like just draining energy from Dana like in
Right.
mass quantities.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in this ship, now that we see what's happening with Rena, we come up across this. I don't want to say he was like an alien, but Havrick
He is.
35. He is this non-human creature that they keep in like this clear case almost. I guess that's keeping him alive. Well, Heverick 35 just absolutely just dumps information on us. This is the part of the game where you basically learn about everything that has happened. Heverick 35 is kind of like the plot device to give us the full history and tell us everything that's happening, what's going to happen.
So
And then
he's
he
a
wants.
Helganquill, which is what all the red women are,
That's right.
which are the original inhabitants of Rena.
Yeah, they
And
are
that-
the inhabitants of Rena.
Yes,
They were.
and all the Renans are actually just Danans that they took from the planet, apparently.
That's right. So anyway, he's telling us about all of the energy being drained and how it's going to kill all the life on the planet. But he tells us, and Rich, I'm going to have to lean on you here. He tells us if we do something that it'll stop, but we refuse to do it. He's like trying to make us a deal, but we don't want to take his deal. Do you remember that kind of back and forth?
Oh, I'm trying to think what it is.
Shion will die for some reason if they do.
That's right. That's right.
You have to let the thorns unleash on the Great Spirit of Rena, because the Great Spirit of Rena basically brainwashed the people of Rena to sacrifice, do everything to feed all the energy to the Great Spirit of Rena. The Great Spirit of Rena is actually just a parasite in a sense that travels to, is basically figured out that it will merge into Dana, take over Dana, kill Dana, move on to the next one.
And aren't the thorns actually part of the Great Spirit of Rena?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
How did those get inside Shion? I forget that detail in the first.
Because I think she was on Linnaeus.
Oh right, it was passed down along her family line because Naori took them on in order to save Alphen, right?
Because Naori's the one that put Alphen in the like ship and launched him.
Right, to save his life.
Right.
Because she promised she would.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that was the deal. He tells us that there's one way to do it, but it's going to cost Shion's life. We say that there's got to be another way. We do the whole back and forth. So anyway, we decide that we're going to head to Rena anyway, because we got to do this.
There is a part here where you have to talk to every party member and have a long scene about what that party member is thinking.
Of course.
And of course, Alphen and Shion have a heart-to-heart here. Heverick 35 tells him he's not going to let them leave if they don't do the plan, but then they convince him anyway somehow that I'm not remembering.
Yeah, I don't remember how, but
it's because it's the will of Dana. They carry the will of Dana in every single life that will propel them to defeat the Great Spirit of Rena. That's what I remember correctly on that one is. With the power of friendship and the power of life will triumph against that. That's generally the whole theme of it, I believe.
That sounds right.
Sounds right. Yeah, that sounds about right. All right, so we go to back to the spaceship and we're getting ready to launch. This is like Scott said, where you have to talk to everybody and kind of fill them out. So anyway, we're going to head to Rena, and it's basically a land of nothing. You get there, and it's like you're just on two rock platforms and you can see the astral energy being drained, but other than that there's nothing.
It kind of reminded me of Valhalla from 13.
Actually, yeah, I could see that.
And also the end
just
of
less
from
just no buildings.
Yeah.
But there is like a couple of warp points that you can deal with, and then they look like round mirrors almost. So you can do that, and this is where you have to go, and it's like a maze, right? Where you have to remember if you go right, if you go left, and because you can get turned around pretty easily because all the rooms look identical.
I don't think I got turned around. I remember just following the map stuff on it.
So I got turned around a couple times because all of the rooms looked identical.
Yeah, it does look identical and stuff. That is true. I can't remember if it's a maze or not, so it should be fine.
Rich has a better sense of direction than you.
Apparently so, because I struggled a little bit. I was like, Scott, get a map, help me.
Oh yeah, I did have to look up a map for you.
Yeah, because I could not figure it out for some reason. I was really struggling. So anyway, you go through this, and then you get into a battle. Oh god, I'm going to butcher this. Valclinimus.
Yeah, it's a just a beast that lives in there.
Oh, that's right. I remember him. He wasn't. Of course, I was overpowered by this point, so he wasn't too bad for me. So you go through this area, you keep warping and fighting enemies and whatnot, and finally you get towards the end here, and we run into the Great Spirit. So you you start a once you fight that one beast, you start a chain of battles.
Yep.
This was actually a pretty epic part of the game because it's just battle, 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 battle.
If you're like us, though, right before you go into this, you take the mirror back to Dana and do every side quest before.
Yep, which is exactly what we did.
Yeah.
So you take the final mirror, the final little teleport, and then you meet the Great Spirit, and then there's a giant battle against the Great Spirit, and then you win that battle. But then for some reason I don't remember this next battle, the Sub Summer.
It's basically you fight the Great Spirit, and as you defeat him using the power of Dana's spirit and everything else and whatnot, this is the second form of the Great Spirit, but in a smaller form, in a sense. This is the Great Spirit of Rena. This is the final piece of it.
Gotcha.
So this is your final boss.
This is your goal.
Yep.
All right, so you do that battle, and then lo and behold, our good buddy shows up again, Volron. Yep.
He runs in with a ship that he stole off Lenegis, and he doesn't land it. He crashes it.
He just wham.
So I think how it goes down is, they defeat the spirit, they get the Renus Alma back, they begin trying to seal the spirit in the Renus Alma, and that's when Volron shows up and steals it, basically.
Right, because we were doing the what's it called, the ceremony, the spirit channel ceremony or something like that. I can't remember, and that's when he showed up.
Right.
So we get into a big giant epic battle with him.
Isn't it a one-on-one between Alphen and?
Yeah, it's just Alphen and Volron.
Isn't Shion stuck somewhere too?
She's like trying to take in the Great Spirit into herself at this point. I remember right.
Right. So Alphen is battling Volron, and he just will not concede. So what happens though is instead he blows himself up, and by doing that, he destroys the Renus Alma because he had that with him. So it's kind of a, if I can't have it, nobody can. So he just blows himself up and destroys the Renus Alma. So once that has happened, Shion shows back up, and she asks Alphen basically to kill her so that it'll destroy the Great Spirit. But Alphen figures out instead that he's going to ask the Great Spirit of Dana for help. And together they can stop the destruction of both planets if they kind of like make them into one single world. And it'll save Shion because it'll get rid of her of the thorns. So they figure all of that out, and then we get our nice little bow on top of our story.
What do you guys think of that like solution to everything? It felt a little Deus Ex Machina.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's more of like the good swallows the bad.
Right.
That's what it is. The Great Spirit. Everybody channeled the Rena or the Dana spirit. Everyone channeled it into one single focus, and the whole planet did that, which then overpowered Rena's spirit because it was so weak, anyways.
Right.
I liked it.
It was foreshadowed, to be fair. They do talk about trying to get the Great Spirit of Dana's help a couple times.
Yeah.
I mean, Renwell mentioned it several times throughout the game, I believe. I think it was Renwell.
And
because she communicates, the mages do have like a connection with the Great Spirit.
Yeah, like they can hear them and like speak with them.
And the two planets merging reminded me of Final Fantasy IX, by the way, because the Terra and Gaia were originally one and all that. So, okay, what's the ending then?
The ending, a little bit after this battle, we learn that Alphen and Shion, they get married, and now they're everybody's living a nice life with Danans and Renans all living in harmony together. And I just wish they would have went a little bit further and just show us that Law and Renwell are dating. Show us that Dohalim and Kisara are together. Because damn it, you shadowed it the entire game, and they still didn't just finish that piece off.
I'm okay with not seeing Dohalim and Kisara together, but Law and Renwell, where they spent so much time on the will they or won't they with them, and then to not get like some kind of solution to that. I know you see his arm around her like at the end, I think, but that's not enough.
No, especially as much time as they spent like focusing on Law and Renwell and how they built them up. You could tell it definitely was not like a brother-sister relationship.
I think it's a weak ending because you spend hours of the characters just talking about what they're going to do after and just going back and forth with each other. And then you get like a 2-minute ending that's like, and then they lived happily ever after. And that's basically it.
What I would have loved is you see the people of Dana beating the shit out of people of Dana.
You sons of bitches.
That would be, he's like, okay, you made us live for thousands of years as slaves, your turn. So, but then you have to go back and say, well, we're all the same people. I'm like, no. Later on down the road, we'll be the same people. But right now, you're going to do my laundry.
But for right now, payback's a bitch.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get that. I mean, that's a good ending that they had. I thought it was good. I got a little, misty-eyed a little bit seeing Shion and Alphen finally get together. There's some little clip at the end of it is all the characters are back on Dana, and all of a sudden Shion and Alphen appear in front of them because the Great Spirit transported them back down there. So that was kind of a nice little, like, oh my God, they survived, because it was like everything was gonna blow up. They were gonna die down there. Supposedly, that was what was gonna happen. But it was good.
There was one moment of the ending that I did really like, and it's like after Shion loses her thorns, she holds Renwell's hand. Which,
that was really sweet.
Because Shion says a couple different times during the game, "I wish I could hold your hand," to Renwell or something like that. So that was easily like a moment they could have just not even acknowledged that they did. So I like that.
Agreed.
So overall thoughts on the story then? What do we think, guys?
I thought it was phenomenal. I loved it. It was one that I could definitely see why it won RPG of the Year in the Game Awards last year. It was just, I'm excited for the next entries of the Tales game. I feel like the Tales series is going to continue to grow. It's good. I enjoy the crap out of it.
What about you, Corey?
I'll talk a little bit more about it in the ratings, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I think this being my first Tales game, I couldn't have asked for more from this game.
Okay. I think it does. There's something to be said for it being pretty anime tropey at some points, colored by numbers, but I myself did really enjoy the story as well. My only complaints really are the ending, and the Lenegus Rena section can get a little wordy and paced badly, I think.
It was too long.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
You remember, Corey, it was like 2 or 3, we had like one session of just talking to like the people at one point.
Oh yeah. For I think we played for about 3 hours straight where it was just dialogue.
And then after that, it was like nothing but battles for a couple hours. So it's like, could they have like spread it out a little bit?
We did talk. I remember after that session of just a bunch of dialogues and then a bunch of battles, I remember telling you, I was like, I wish they would have like combined these two sections a little bit better.
Yeah. I will say, I think that the story, its strength is the characters. I think the core cast are really interesting and likable characters, and they kind of carry what may have otherwise been like maybe not kind of a vanilla story. You get really invested because you like the characters so much, I think.
Agreed.
But yeah, we still got gameplay to talk about, so you guys ready to move on to that?
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, so I told these boys before we started recording the episode that I didn't play the game. All I did was fishing. So uh, I think I maybe did like two battles myself. I can't remember why I did it, but um, so I'm gonna be leaning on these guys to talk about the gameplay. So you're up first, Corey.
All right. So Tales of Arise uses the same gameplay function as the last several entries of this series. Where the game really shines is its ability to swap back and forth from a 3D animation to 2D in its various dialogue scenes. Those are the game's way to like include more backstory and information for the characters and for the story that's happening. So basically, what would happen is you would see a little cutscene, and then you would get a prompt to hit your R1 button, and then it would go into like a comic book almost way of telling the story, which I thought was really cool. Tales of Arise brings its game when it comes to combat and the overworld. So the player controls Alphen on the map with monsters just kind of roaming around. And then it seamlessly transitions to battle if the player chooses to fight. So that's another great thing is you can actually see the enemies on the field and you can choose to run up to them and fight them or you can run away. Various items are available to collect on the map, which can be used for crafting, smithing, cooking, fishing, all of that fun stuff. These are all over the place to find, and they're generally pretty easy to spot.
Yep, and it's worth mentioning though that those dialogue scenes, there is a trophy for like seeing all 300 of them. But there is a way at the campfires where you can go back and view scenes that you missed.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
you can
handy.
reminisce.
That is pretty nice.
So that's like the non-combat of the game. So what do you guys think about like just the out of combat stuff?
I mean, easy to play. Like I said,
Yeah.
you can see the villains, you can see the items. The map is pretty nice. I like being able to switch between characters. No,
Yeah.
it's good.
Do you have to be Alphen outside of battle? I can't
No,
remember. Okay.
No,
you can control
mainly
whoever.
Yeah.
Corey was Alphen the entire time. I think he
Me
switched
too.
to Law during one battle because he was having trouble with a boss, and all the gods would
There,
like use Law. But
yeah, there was one battle I played as Law, and there was one battle I played as Kisara. But other than that, I was Alphen.
yeah. So other than the actual exploration, there are a few side things to do, such as fishing. The fishing is a little wonky and weird to get used to at first, but once you figure it out, it's pretty intuitive. I like it better than, like, say, Final Fantasy XV's fishing. There's also one thing that you got to do though is you like gotta upgrade your rods and your bait that you get from catching certain fish. Once you do that, it becomes child's play. There's also cooking. It's very similar to cooking in 15. You get timed bonuses to your stats or drop rates, things like that, based on the meal that you eat with all the items that you find around. New recipe.
Some
And
of those abilities that you get from cooking actually come very handy.
yeah, they can be the difference between, you know, winning a boss battle and getting crushed. So,
Yeah, my favorite one was I always tried to cook something that gave me an experience boost.
oh yeah, that's good. There's also special monster battles you can do. Most of the areas have some kind of large optional Zoogle boss you can do. Of course, at the beginning of the game, you have to come back to most of those. But later, once you're OP, it's not that bad. Let's see. What else we got here? There are side quests that you can do all over the map. There's a ton of them. There's some running side quests like the gourmand who travels the world that you gotta like find certain recipes for. There's like the Wonder Bard where I forget what his deal was, but he has like a line of quests as well.
Hmm.
Um, and then I should mention this before I forget. In the post game, you can go back and go to these bonus dungeons that are actual areas from past Tales games, and you even there's even a couple characters that shows up from past Tales games as super bosses. So that was pretty cool. Of course, it didn't really do much for Corey and I as not being familiar with the characters, but what are you gonna do?
They were hard battles too.
Yeah. The hardest battle in the game was there's a gauntlet you can do in Lenegis, or maybe it's the Hevrek ship, where you go back and refight harder versions of each lord, but then one of the battles in there is you fight all of the lords at once, and that was probably the hardest battle in the game
Oh my
for
god,
Tori.
that took me forever.
He wanted to give up, and I wouldn't let him. And then you even fight Zephyr, a Phantom Zephyr, after that, and then that gives Law and Zephyr a little bit of closure after that scene, so that's nice. Um, but yeah, that's really all that I can think of. You can, oh yeah, you can farm, as Law would say. Do you think we should go check in on the animals, or something
Every
like
fucking time.
that?
He likes them.
Yeah.
Apparently so. That was like Law's highlight was that we got a farm.
What do you do? Never paid attention like the actual benefit that gives you.
It just gives you a like whatever animal you decide to raise. Once they're done, you get ingredients for cooking, like you would get meat or chicken or pork or whatever.
You kill them.
Yeah.
This looks like a good spot to find some ingredients. It's a Kingdom Hearts 3 reference, Rich.
I'll get there one day.
Yeah. So that's the side shit, and then we left the meat and potatoes of the game, the combat, to Rich.
Yes. All right. So again, like we said, the combat is where the game really shines. A lot of people love the combat. You control one character at a time, but it's very fast paced as you can dip, duck, dodge some more. As enemies come flying at you, because it's that linear blur, like the linear battle system, where you're consistently moving and running and doing attacks and stuff. You have to pay attention. You have to really pay attention to what's going on, because you can get overwhelmed and you can, die very easily if you're not staying on top of everything. Staggering and blindsiding an enemy is key to winning, including the bosses. Did you guys figure out staggering pretty easily?
That's a Corey question.
I'm sitting here trying to remember if I always tried to go for the stack, because eventually, like later on in the game, I got to where I didn't have to really worry about it too much. Because I mean, like I said, what we were doing like every single side quest, and and the combat was fun enough where I didn't skip enemies. I always went in to fight them. But I don't remember much about focusing on the staggering part. The blindsiding I do remember for sure.
Yeah, because it does matter where you're striking them from, because the sides and the back does offer a little bit of a boost to it. So you've got to be able to do those. Now, there are abilities such as arts that each character does do, that you set up with Alphen. There's different abilities that will go based on button combos, using your normal sword versus the blazing sword. However, with the blazing sword, if you use it, it will drain your health. So you got to be careful with that. If you hold the blazing sword for a long period of time to charge up an attack, it does increase the damage of it. However, it leaves you vulnerable to be killed very quickly if you're not careful with that. That's why it's key to have a person healing you on the back end. So that is handy. Now,
speaking of which, what kind of setup did you go for? I'm curious, because I always played as Alphen.
Yeah.
And then I kept Shion in my party because she was a healer. And then I had Dohalim in my party because he could also heal, but he was also able to use other arts. And then for my fourth one, I kept Law in there because he would just like run at it and just do physical damage constantly.
I used Alphen, Shion, Kisara, and Law.
Okay, so only one difference.
Yeah, I did not like Dohalim stuff, and I really didn't rely heavily on Renwell stuff. I just enjoyed using that combo.
How was Kisara in battle?
She's like a tank. She took a lot of the damage. She was able to do some things. She also healed various things like that too. So that kind of helped it. But she took a lot of the brunt, while Law did a lot of the quick hit successions. Shion was handling stuff in the back end, and then I was just in the middle in between. Okay. So it's good to have like good formation. So
a lot of the guides that I was reading for like the super bosses though did recommend using Shion and Dohalim, just because like having that extra healing was so important for those super boss battles.
Yeah. So once you're done with that, doing all this fast-paced arts and whatnot, you can have the ability to do the boost strike, which is basically staggering in a sense. Creates these massive damage producers where it can actually end the battle completely because it's so overwhelming. So I really enjoyed Shion and Laws
Those are the
combo.
two that I always got used, was especially Law. For some reason, I don't know why, but in my party, Law, he would be able to do this crazily fast.
Yep.
Like it was almost every battle with him.
I never really understood the system as to like what got people aggroed so much that they did those attacks because, like Corey was saying, Law was constant. Tenebrous Claw, and then we
Well,
like
I
barely ever saw the other characters.
you could also equip items that would make it go faster. And one thing, because I don't know, Scott, if you'll remember this or not. I know Rich will know what I'm talking about. But for each ability, like this bracelet, you can attach like 4 levels of um, like enhancements. So like one bracelet can have the effect of like upping your penetration, your defense, your attack, and then one other thing. Well, the equipment I had on Law, one of the things was that his his boost strike would gain faster.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it was going to be that fast.
That's probably why then. Okay.
But it was some good stuff. Like those attacks were really over the top, amazing detail with the Unreal 5 or Unreal 4 engine. It was just really cool.
Yeah, they look amazing.
Healing arts are some of the things I didn't like using CP. Of course, CP you can gain more as time goes on and whatnot. But yeah, that was kind of annoying when those run out. I don't know if you had any problem with that.
I early on in the game, it was a major headache because I kept Shion in battle, and you remember how you could set your battle strategy to like different paradigms.
Yeah.
I put them to focus on healing because if you die, you die.
Yeah.
So I put them to focus on healing, but Shion would just run through that CP. So I always had to keep like, what was it, the pineapple gels that you could buy? I had to make sure I like kept those in stock.
But yeah, that's really all the combat is just some big flashy hit magic heal done.
And it's so fast paced, it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, I didn't really play it, but watching Corey, it is a very like entertaining battle system, I would say.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I think it's really cool that you can play as any of the characters. I know you guys didn't really do that. I feel like if I had, though, I would have. I would have mixed it up some.
That is one thing I do regret about my playthrough is that I wish I would have played as the other characters a little bit more. And I also wish I would have maybe swapped out my battle team a little bit just to see what Rinwell and Kisara were like in battle. Those are the two things I probably wish I would have done more of.
And I'm not sure if you mentioned this or not, Rich, but another thing I really like is how even though you have 6 characters and it's a 4-party battle, you can still like call in the other characters almost like quick summon attacks.
Oh yes, that's right. There's those abilities you can do that. So it's limited, but
yeah, it does feel like the whole party's there instead of like some kind of weird like they're not in this battle for some reason. But yeah, so moving on from the combat, there are some typical RPG tropes. There's towns, there's inns, shops, all that normal stuff. One thing we didn't really go over, there is a skill tree in this game where you have to basically you unlock different branches of it based on completing certain story goals or side quests. How did you guys feel about the skill tree system in this?
It was okay. I mean, it's the normal RPG skill tree system. It wasn't like fancy stuff that you had to really dig and make a huge amounts of decisions on, life-changing decisions. I still thought it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, and I liked that it was a little different in that like it wasn't all like battle related stuff because like one of them for Kisara, like 3 of her skill rings were catch a certain fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing about the campfires I forgot to mention also is that you can, before you go to sleep, you can choose to talk to certain characters, and that increases like Alphin's relationship with them, and you get more story scenes that kind of explain that character's motivations as you get further down those lines. Unfortunately, for some reason, Corey hated Kisara and never did her scenes. And so getting everybody's relationship to Max is a trophy. And so the way it works is a new scene only unlocks once every hour of actual gameplay. And so this was the very last thing we did for the platinum is I just let the game run for an hour to get to Kasara's next scene and then let it run for another hour to get to Kasara's next scene. So,
That's funny.
Oops.
as far as DLC goes, they made a big deal. I remember this being a news story. I remember Atlas made a big deal that Tales of Arise was a complete game. There's no story DLC. There won't be any expansions. So the only DLC that there is paid costume DLC, and then you could also buy kind of like booster packs that will do things like give you some money or increase your experience multiplier permanently. So it's kind of like a little boost you can get to make the game a little easier. I did. That is where you get the shame. You get shamed, Corey, because I did buy this for him because he was really raging against Ganabelt.
No, it was Dohalim.
Oh yeah, Dohalim.
It was Dohalim.
I'm raising my hand because I did it too.
Yes.
Shame.
What?
Shame.
I only did one of them. I didn't do all of
Shame.
them. I just did one.
I did all of them.
Oh, see, I did not.
Well,
Hey, it's just there. It's there. It's tempting me.
That battle with Dohalim, okay, I was a higher level than he was, and no joke, I fought him multiple times and just was getting just wiped across the floor by this guy. I could not figure him out. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to sit here and grind for days upon days.
You don't have to. You just have to grind your credit card.
That's exactly what we did.
I mean, you know what? It's fine. Like the thing is, though, that changes your levels and it gives you a few extra like added things such as money and whatnot. That's fine. That doesn't change anything too drastic. It doesn't. It's not DLC in a sense. It's just like, hey, give me a boost real fast.
Those early Lord battles are tough. From what
they're hard.
Yeah. So
I think you have to be on top of it.
I think especially the experience multipliers. Once you add that in, the game becomes significantly easier after a little bit because you start to overcome the level curve of the enemies.
But it didn't make it to where, that it was so easy that it wasn't fun. There were still times I still died. Because battles were still hard.
Yeah. I think if you didn't do that, I think the skill, or excuse me, the level of difficulty does jump in a certain spot of the game, and you're not on par with that no matter what. So I think maybe they did it on purpose. It was like, hey, you have to buy this. You're not gonna be where you need to be.
Well, even right after we bought it, I still had to fight Dohalim multiple times to beat him. It wasn't like I bought it and then went in and like crushed him. I still died multiple times.
Right.
But at least I was getting further into the battle instead of like immediately just get annihilated.
Yeah. So that's the gameplay, and I think that there might be a couple of aspects that we're forgetting, but before we move on, are there any like bosses or dungeons in particular that are very memorable for you, or parts of the game that you want to call out?
The first battle with Dohalim, that was the first battle that really I just could not overcome.
You got really frustrated with Ganabelt too, though. I remember you lowered
that one was hard. I mean, they make the bosses not easy, but I mean, that's also like a good thing because then you're not like bored. You're actually having to like think about what you're doing in battle. And that post game battle with all of the lords again, that one was challenging.
Yeah. What about you, Rich?
No, everything was pretty good. I enjoyed the hell out of it. So all of its highs for me on a lot of the boss battles. The motivations of the characters, the just good is programmed. There was no bugs in anything. I didn't run across any issues. I thought it was great to have a game that was complete out of the gate.
And they made all 6 characters likable.
Yes.
Yeah. The only one I would say I like her, but I didn't love her. I thought Kasara could have used a little bit more fleshing out.
She was a mom.
Yeah, the group bomb, basically.
Yes.
As far as dungeons go, I know, what was it, Delpharis Castle that we struggled with. Uh,
I don't remember struggling too much with that one.
there was one castle where we had to like pull up a map and we got really confused.
Oh yeah. That's
I
shit.
remember you
can't-
got mad at me because I wasn't helping enough.
I was like, Scott, I am confused. I don't know where I'm at. Help me.
I was like, I don't know where you're at either. Okay. Well, in that case, any final thoughts on the gameplay before we move on?
Nope.
All right.
It's pretty epic.
So we're going to take a quick break here, but when we return, we will finally give our ratings for Tales of Arise. I need a coffee refill. How about you guys?
I need a coffee and I need to use restroom.
And we're already at an hour, so we'll definitely make
Jeez.
the RPG Club its own mini-sode. Be right back.
Sweet, I'm officially enrolled in my new 401k account.
Nice.
Do not let me forget, if you can help me remember, that I need to roll my old 401k into this new one.
I sent a text about social equality.
Oh, it was, he Googled that Equal Dad thing that we saw at Target on that mug. Oh. Apparently it has something to do with social equality. How am I doing? Good. I'm not being too talky.
No. That start was anywhere over.
I'm going to refill my coffee as well. You're in my way. Feel that hot.
No, I'm not.
I just say once I start streaming, you have to make another one.
Corey's getting more coffee too. He should be ready in just a second.
Okay.
You can see his blur in the background there. I know it's going longer than what you expected, but I'm thinking this episode's turning out pretty good so far.
Oh yeah. I had to go check on the new dog and see what he was doing. Because the wife went to the store and left him out. Our other wiener dog, he's in his kennel right now, and they're just laying next to each other. So,
As long as they're good.
yes.
Okay.
So are we doing the ratings in the order that they are on the chart, or is Rich going first? How are we doing this?
We can just let you go first.
Oh shit, okay. I better get my...
Unless you
Oh
want.
god, I wasn't ready for this. Okay.
I can switch you guys out. If you
Nah,
want.
I'm fine. It's fine.
Okay. All right.
I like how Rich's name shows up in the doc, but then Scott clicks in and it says Anonymous Leopard.
That's weird.
That is weird.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Let's rate this bad boy.
Starting back in 5, 4,
Wait, so
3.
this is the one where Scott, your ratings do not count, right?
Right. I'm still gonna rate it.
Right,
But-
right.
That's why I
doesn't
didn't
go
put
into
you in
the
there.
score.
I didn't put you in there because it was like he's not going to rate it. Okay. Oh,
And then I'll also calculate what the score would have been if mine had been included. But
oh,
Okay.
gotcha. Okay.
all right. Okay, starting back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we are back and we are ready to rate this bad boy. That was the start of Alphen's theme. I wish my real life I had a theme song that epic. But okay, so our categories today are story, combat, non combat, visuals, audio, overall feel, and then our bonus category, final boss, which does not count towards the final score. It's just a fun rating we give. Um, since I did not actually play the game other than the fishing, we're only going to count Corey's and Rich's ratings today, but I will still give my ratings because I did watch him play the whole game. But my ratings will not count towards the final score. Sad. Uh, but we'll kick it off with story. What'd you think, Corey?
Okay, so overall story, fantastic. I love the overall story. Um, I do wish, however, there are a couple parts that don't quite sit well with me, and we've kind of already briefly touched on them. At the ending, I wish we would have got a little bit more from some of the other characters. For instance, Law and Renwell. I really wish we would have got a little bit of a better ending from there. Um, maybe not necessarily better, but just more fleshed out. Um, I do like though you also get like a little closure with between Law and his dad. I thought that was a really nice touch. Some of the pacing, especially towards the back half of the game, really gets thrown off. I wish they wouldn't have done it to where it was just hours of dialogue and then hours of battle. I wish they would have blended that a little bit better. Um, but story overall for me, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 8 because it's a great story. I just wish it would have been handled slightly better.
Okay. What about you, Rich?
So it's a good points you have there, Corey. So I'm going to docket a point on the pacing of the story for sure on the back end of the game, because it felt like the first 5 areas that we talked about in part 1 of the review, that was a huge area. Well, and then you get to part 2 where they have that break in, or that break where the month-long gap, and then after that it was just consistent amounts of just dump after dump of information, and just pacing was off. Other than that, I love the story. I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay. Um, Corey took the words pretty much right out of my mouth. Like if I had gone first, I would have just said what he said. So, uh, I think it's an 8. Again, I think the strength of this story is the characters, not necessarily the actual story. There is some anime tropiness in there, but I did really care about the characters. I cared about what was going on, and I was really intrigued and invested, despite not playing it myself. All right, combat. Start us off, Corey.
For me, easy. This is a 10. The combat in this game is just so much fun. At first, yes, there's a lot of elements that go into combat, because so you can get overwhelmed because there's so many different things and aspects of the combat. But they do such a good job of getting you comfortable with all of those really quickly. So once you get the hang of it, it becomes just a fun experience. And this game, it's one of those rare times where I didn't want to miss any battles. Like if I got the chance to go into battle, I did it because I didn't mind it, because it was fun.
Okay. What about you, Rich?
10. I mean, it is just fun nonstop. Like I was every battle I'd go into, I would rush to the boost strike. I would try to do as many boost strikes as I possibly can because I just love the animations and love how that went. The skills and the arts, each character, just the banter they had back and forth in the combat was just fun. 10.
Yep. I'll give it a 10 as well. I don't really have much experience with the combat system myself, but it looked fun, and I trust what you guys said. The only thing that I guess I can say against it is, you get into some of these boss battles who have 40 kabillion HP, and it really seems like you're doing chip damage, and so it could get a little boring to watch at times from my end. Just
That's when you got to go for the boost strikes and
Yeah.
that's when that you got to have strategy on that one, and that's what made it fun.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we said this last episode, but I remember when you fight Doali and he has, 28 million HP or whatever it is. I already knew that he was going to join the party. So I was like, he better still have freaking 28 million HP when he joins up.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
He did not.
But anyway, yeah, it's a 10 from me as well. Non-combat, Corey.
Um, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. I mean, you've got the inns and the shops, and the world is pretty, and you can see the enemies before you go into battle. Um, you have the campfire scenes where you can build the relationships. However, I will dock it a point because I feel like a lot of times those little scenes, I don't know what you want to call them, but the little scenes that would pop up for you to hit R1 and it would play the little comic strip scenes. I feel like a lot of times they just dumped so many of those on you. Like, so right after you rest from a campfire, you would get that notification like 5 times. So you're sitting there, and a lot of times, like, what it's referring to has like happened like a way back. So, and they would jump a little bit. So it was kind of out of order, out of sequence. But honestly, that's the only really thing I can come up to docket. So I'll give it a 9.
Okay, what about you, Rich?
Um, I have no issues with it. The non-combat stuff, all of it's smooth, runs very nicely together. I am going to dock it a point because of fishing.
Good
Doesn't
point.
matter if it's got
Good point.
fishing. Just 1 point's gone. Boom, gone. So
Well,
other than
Rich,
that, it was
I
good.
don't think there's a photo mode though, so at least there's that for you.
That's why I didn't get docked another point.
Okay, you know, there's nothing wrong really with the non-combat from what I could tell. It's almost a little dry, but all the usual suspects are here with mini games and towns and shopping and all of that. But I also don't think there was anything like particularly cool about it because it's not open world. It's pretty linear. So I'll give it an 8. Okay, visuals, Corey.
Visuals, this is a 10. This game is absolutely beautiful. All of the worlds and the maps, I never once saw any loading errors or glitches or anything. It's just they did a great job of making each landscape feel unique and different, and they all look great. But then also the visuals of combat, like we've talked about combat so much because that's where this game lives. But like all of those over boost strikes and all of the animations that go into it, they're all just gorgeous.
Okay, Rich.
I'm going to mirror the same thing Corey said. It's a 10. It's just, I do love the art style and how they brought to life every single area. Difference of, Olzebek, Sislodia, all those places look phenomenal. And I do have to say, you brought up a good point on something, Scott, a moment ago. This game is not linear, or it's not open world. It's linear. I wish they would go back to this style of RPGs.
Yeah.
So
Now,
it's just
I
fun.
will say it's not like Final Fantasy 13 or even Final Fantasy 10 linear. There are branching paths. The maps do kind of like spread off a little bit,
Which is
in the
fine.
dungeons. Yeah. So I wouldn't dock points for linearity from my end.
Yeah.
As far as the visuals, from what I could tell, it is a very pretty game. I want to give it an 8, but I think I'm going to be a little bit nicer and say a 9. the thing I want to dock it for is I know Corey said he likes them, but the comic book style scenes, if it's like the non fully animated scenes, they do a good job with them, better than other games that do this. But to me, that always screams we had a budget. So if those were scenes were mostly fully animated, then I would have given it a 10. But that's it.
I get where you're coming from on that, but that is a Tales trope all the way from like various older games that they've kept in there. So
hey, this was supposed to be a revival.
I know.
Okay,
Fair enough.
A rise from the tropes. No, I'm just kidding.
Now, if that is the fact and that's a carryover from prior games, I can see why, like a Tales fanatic would be like, "I'm so glad they kept that."
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, and also there's for the really important moments you do get the occasional anime scene, so that's cool too.
right, and the anime scenes were fucking awesome.
Yes. Okay. Audio.
Audio 10. Music is fantastic. The voice acting is on point. You never once get some like cheesy line where it just feels out of place. Everything just blended together so perfect. The sounds during the game, during combat, the banter that they have, I have absolutely no issues with it, and I thought they did a fantastic job.
I feel like our friend Angry Ass Black Dude is like rolling over right now.
Does he not like them?
He says he hates the combat because the characters are constantly screaming and yelling and saying the same things over and over and over. But
I get that. Audio, I'm going to match the same thing as what Corey said. It's, everything blended very nicely. Even the themes of each area was good. I do have that same thought of some of these things that they would say during combat does get a little annoying. Same with some of the random stuff they say around the world when you travel, like in the open areas. But it's not enough to get to dock it down. So I'm still giving it a 10.
Yeah, I mean, like Law constantly saying maybe we should check on the animals. It gets annoying, but it's not enough to say that it makes it less great.
Yep.
What is it that they say whenever you like warp to a campfire, and there's always like the same line that they use, like, "Oh, that was a long journey," or something.
Yeah, there's
like
there's like 3 different lines that'll come up, or like Shion would say, "We finally made it."
There's some repetitive ones in there for sure. Okay, so audio, I will give it an 8. I think the voice acting is on point. I really think the voice actors did a good job. I will say though that I think Kisara could have used a little work. I thought a lot of her lines sounded very flat, or like the voice actor, you can tell she's not the same caliber as the rest of the cast. But she is also the one with the least credit, so she's new to the scene apparently. And then also, I wasn't as much of a fan of the soundtrack as you guys were. There's some really good tracks. I love the vocal themes. But when I was gathering the music for this, like I couldn't think of any. I had a hard time coming up with, okay, what are 6 or 7 tracks that I remember? So I think it's a good soundtrack, but I don't think it's a 10 personally. Okay, overall feel, Corey.
I'm going to go with a 9. Overall, I really, really liked this game. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I had a lot of fun playing this game. I'm glad. I'm glad we actually took the time to play it. Not just for this review, but just because that was just a fun game to play. And I mentioned this is my first Tales game, and this game was so good that now any Tales game that comes out, I'm going to play it. And I also want to kind of go back and see some older Tales games too. But this game overall is phenomenal.
I smell some more reviews. So, because I do need to go back and actually play this, finish out Vesperia and Zestria and Berseria.
So somebody in Discord actually gave me a recommendation for a next one too. I can't remember which one it was though.
We need to play that. So anyways, back to mine. Overall feel, I'm going to give it a 9. Now, I'm going to get half a point docking because of fishing. Just throw that out there. But
You
I'm
really
also
hate the
gonna
fishing, huh?
I swear to God, I love fishing in real life, but I just can't stand it in games. I'm also going to get a half a point, Doc, because of the pacing at the end of the game. Like we said, it's like a lot of it. It must be a common. Not to say it must be. It is a common thing that we see a lot of RPGs that tend to towards the end of the game just give you a crap ton of info dump at the end to kind of fill in the back stuff, which I do find kind of annoying. But I get why they do it. But then the other side of it's like, stop it. So I'm gonna give it 9.
Okay. Uh, for myself, I really like this game. It may sound like I'm being negative about it, but my scores are still pretty dang good. So I'm giving it an 8. The overall feel. There were, like I said, I really liked the story. The combat looked like it was fantastic. There's just some parts I wish were a little bit more polished, and it could have been done a little better. Especially the biggest thing I think is the pacing in the back half of the game, like we keep bringing up. Uh, but yeah, that's it for me. Final boss, which would be the final one-on-one encounter between Alphen and Volron.
Um, I feel like this one is actually going to be a little bit lower because I feel like it's one of those battles that like you can't lose kind of deal. Um, and it's not like extremely memorable compared to some of the other parts of the game. I'll give it a 7. I mean, it's not bad. It does a cool, like it still looks cool. It's just not as great as some of the prior battles.
You were also OP at this point, so it almost
Yeah,
felt a
so
little anticlimactic.
yeah, so maybe I was just too OP and it took some of the challenge out of it.
What about you,
So
Rich?
I'm going to give it an 8. Some of the reasons why I have on this is because the motivation for Volron was just, I didn't really like it. The whole time Volron has this huge hard on for Alphen because he's supposed to be the next sovereign, whereas Volron's supposed to be the sovereign. So he is just gunning for him the entire time without any real motivations. Where you see some of these bosses are like, there's reasons behind it. The only thing that Volron has against Alphen is the fact that he's the other sovereign, and he does not like him. He just wants to kill him. So there's that. So I'm going to give it an 8. I mean, it was kind of a nice deal at the end of it to finally, okay, you're done, buddy. I'm tired of you. I'm just going to kill you. You're done. And then you try to kill him, and he just commits suicide.
Damn it, Volron.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about this, but I do think one thing the story lacks is a compelling villain.
Yeah.
Because you do get like the villain of the day earlier in the story with each lord, and some of them are like, very easy to hate. But I don't think Volron's a particularly comparing main antagonist. So I'll give it a 7. I also didn't like that it was just Alphen versus Volron. I kind of thought I wished all the characters could have still participated, but I get why they did it. I guess they were probably going for like a Cloud versus Sephiroth moment. But yeah, nothing really to write home about here for me. All right, and that's all of our scores. Corey, you want to read yours off?
Sure. So for story, I gave it an 8. Combat was a 10. Non-combat was a 9. Visuals were 10. Audio was a 10, and overall feel was a 9, which gives my subtotal of 56 out of 60, or 93%.
Does that feel about right for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Rich?
So I gave story a 9, combat a 10, non-combat a 9, visuals a 10, audio a 10, overall feel 9, and then the subcategory, which is the final boss, of 8, giving me a 57 out of 60, or a 95%, which feels about right for me.
Yeah, I remember you talking about how much you loved this game when you were playing it and when you beat it.
I'm so glad you guys played it. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
I
so
love
glad
this
you
game.
guys brought it, because I remember telling you this constantly, how much, like you said, I was bragging about it. I was like, just play it. Just play it. You'll love it.
Yeah. So my scores, which again do not count, I gave story an 8, combat a 10, non-combat an 8, visuals a 9, audio an 8, overall feel an 8, final boss a 7. So my subtotal is a 51 out of 60, or an 85%. Which means we have our final score calculated. And so the RPG After Years gives Tales of Arise a score of 94%.
Nice.
Quite the high rating there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel it deserves it.
I don't know. I'm about to drop a bomb on you guys.
Well,
Oh,
hold
God.
on. Before you do that, let me ask you this question, Scott. If you would have played it, you physically would have played it, and Corey played it separately, do you think your score would have been a little higher? Possibly. Or lower?
I'm not sure because I gave combat a 10, and I feel like that's the part I really didn't get to experience. And so I don't know that my score would have been much higher if I had been the one playing. Maybe.
Okay.
If we had included my score, our final rating would have been a 91%, by the way.
Yeah.
However, this makes Tales of Arise our new number one, the highest
Whoa.
rating
Really?
we've ever given.
Whoa.
It ties with Super Mario 64, which is not an RPG. So that was a Patreon episode. Below that, we have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Last of Us 1 and 2, Persona 5 Royal, tied for number 2 now. So yeah,
Wow.
which all those games got a 92%, by the way. So, do you guys think that this game is better than Final Fantasy VII Remake and Persona 5 Royal?
I'm gonna be the person that's gonna say this. Yes. I think it's better than Final Fantasy VII Remake.
For me, I would put it on the same level as the 7 remake. However, I am struggling. I will not say it's better than Persona 5 Royal.
Okay.
But I'm a huge fangirl for P5R, and I'm sure when we rated that, my ratings were through the roof and somebody else brought it down.
Yes. Okay. As far as the RPG scale goes, it did get a 215. So for those that aren't familiar, the RPG scale is a formula I developed to determine how much of an RPG a game is. For the purposes of this show, a 100 it qualifies it to be reviewed on the main show. That puts it below Secret of Mana at 230 and above Final Fantasy VII Remake at 205.
I cannot wait for this episode to go live and what is going to be said in the Discord. I'm already looking forward to it.
It's awesome. It will be funny.
There's going to be some strong reactions.
Yes. Well, my fault that I did not get feedback from our listeners. However, we do finally have feedback right now. So Scott, I can go over those if you'd like.
Okay. Do you want to read Kabaski's?
Yes, I will take Kabaski's right now. So Kabaski said, I really enjoyed it. The ending kind of dragged with heavy dialogue, but I didn't feel under-leveled or anything during the final boss, which was really nice. So same thoughts that we kind of had.
Okay. Do you got it pulled up, Corey?
Is it this screenshot that
Yes.
Bill put in here?
Yep.
You can do Claire.
So I've got. Okay, I'll take Claire. Claire says, I really enjoyed it. A couple things with combat mechanics that I didn't care much for, but overall it felt pretty good. The story was also really good. Not sure it's my favorite of the series, but it's close. It felt satisfying to beat. I put 70 hours in, but I'm also a bit thorough. Story did seem to have a couple areas with slow pacing, which we've talked about. About mid-game, I kind of had to push myself to keep going, but it was worth it. Now to decide what I'm playing next, thinking something a bit shorter, I spent a good 3 months working through Arise.
I remember her updating us on her thoughts as she was playing through it, so that's really cool. And she had some of the same thoughts as us.
Yeah, the pacing and yeah.
And then we got ROB. They say, Arise was my first and at the moment only Tales game, but it was a good one. I love the art style of both cutscenes and the gameplay. The battle system is pretty cool, but I admit I haven't delved into it with each character yet, but I will when I go for the plat. The story was interesting, but some of the smaller side plots were just weird anime filler. I could see that. The ending I did feel rather empty. It just ended all of a sudden, and I was hoping for more resolution and aftermath. The music was so-so, but beyond the 2 main theme songs, I can't recall anything else that stuck. Overall, it was a fun game. I liked all the main characters, and I will definitely be playing the rest of this series. So it sounds like ROB felt a little closer to how I felt about the game with some of the criticisms. We did get asked for feedback last minute, so that's all we got for today. But thank you guys for submitting that.
Hey, they came through right there in a pinch.
Well,
Yep.
Bill found them, so they were back in the from like
Thanks,
a month
Bill.
ago.
So we're actually going to give the RPG Club its own mini episode because we're already flirting with an hour and a half for this one here. But any final thoughts on Tales of Arise, guys?
Loved it.
I mean, I absolutely recommend this game to anybody, and anybody who's not played a Tales game, do this one, because like I said, I jumped into it, didn't have any problems, and I friggin' love this game.
Right. Okay. So we're going to move on to our outro then, and we have a new number one. Damn.
How does that make you feel?
続いてく物語に私はいるのかな届かないこの願いに少しだけでいいから聞こえてよ触れたいよ信じるよ 聞こえてよ触れたいよ信じるよありがとう
And that's going to do it for today for part 2 of the Tales of Arise review. Rich, do you know what we're doing next week? It's going to be a catch-up
I
episode.
don't. It's probably it's gonna be a catch-up episode. That's
Yeah.
fine.
And then we probably got another review coming up after that, probably from me and Bill. So look forward to that. There's been some interesting RPG news lately, so I'm sure we'll have some stuff to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of RPGs, do you want to give one more reminder about the club?
Yes. So the club is current game is Final Fantasy XIII. The checkpoint is Chapter 5, the Gapra Whitewood, which you said when Snow hits the air bike, he gets on it. That's the end of that chapter, which is due May 29th.
Yes. Launching into our plugs. Please rate and review us. We are now on the Spotify review system as well. It helps the show with the algorithm and all that fancy shit. It's a great way to help us, and yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah. And tell your friends, guys. We definitely appreciate all of our current community members and everything you guys have done for us. Tell your friends. Let's grow and let's keep going through the list of the many RPGs that we have still left to go. And another great way to support the show is Patreon. So Patreon has the ability that you guys can donate to us and help us continue what we're doing. For some rewards is early episode access, ad-free episodes, extra reviews, the RPG Club where you can nominate and vote for the next game, and much more. That is at patreon.com/RPG After Years.
If you would like, you can usually find us streaming on Twitch. The episode's live. That's Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That can be found at twitch.tv/RPG After Years. We haven't been doing it the past couple of weeks because we found that Corey and I both on a Zoom meeting and streaming to Twitch in the same household was a little much for our internet. But we're kicking Corey out next week, so.
Fair.
You can also find me streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_Scott_spot. I only mention it because I will be playing through Radical Dreamers and Chrono Cross if you want to check that out.
Another way to interact. Sorry, were you going to say something else?
I was just going to say you can email us at rpgafteryears@gmail.com for any feedback.
Nobody wants to email you. Another way to interact with not only these guys, but with the entire community, get in the Discord. The link can be found in the show notes or on the pinned tweet on Twitter. It's a very active Discord. A lot of good discussion. So I highly encourage, if you want to talk about, I mean, not only RPGs, but all kinds of other stuff, get in the community.
We'd appreciate it and welcome it. Speaking of Twitter, you can find the show at RPG Years. And you can find me at the Scott Spot.
You can find me at HaleBlue1569.
And me at VFL Corey.
thank you all for participating in our Tales of Arise review. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you're flabbergasted by our final scores there. It was a fun review, and it was great to have Corey on. But for now, we need to move on. Join us next week for episode 113, in which we'll be covering all the latest news. But until then, I'm Scott.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Corey.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the RPG After Years. Bye.
Bye.
The beast has been slain. The world has been saved. Our heroes are basking in the after years. After years. They rest in the tavern for all to hear. Their tale of victory and conquered fears. Revel in the peace that reigns through the land. All will know it was by our heroes' hands. Here in the after years. Here in the RPG After Years. Here in the RPG After Years.
A little long, but I actually think that was a pretty good episode.
Yeah.
Good job,
It was
boys.
good times. Thanks.
Okay, you ready to
Yeah.
launch
Let me
right in?
give me 1 second. Let me go check on something. My wife just got home. Let's just make sure everything's good.
All
1
right.
second.
Cool. I'm gonna take a leak.
Okay. That's a good episode.
I thought so too.
Like you said, long, but
We're gonna lose all our street cred
All of our street cred.
for making Tales of Arise the best RPG we've ever reviewed.
that's I knew the game would be high. I didn't expect it would be the new number one.
I think there's an argument to be made. And there's a remake. I think though, I would definitely put Persona 5 about that. What feels me?
Oh, I would too, but like I said, it's definitely because when we did P5R, I think it was just me and you, wasn't it?
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, your ratings brought P5R down, whereas if it were mine, I guarantee it would have been higher than Tails.
We wouldn't have got it, man. We wouldn't have got it, man, for people.
Was it just me?
I think so.
How did I rate Tails higher than Persona? That doesn't make sense.
I think if it's just been you. It's not working out. The riches had the high score, so it brought it up.
I was about to say, because I know when we rated Persona, I'm pretty sure I gave Story a 10. I gave this one an 8. Like, when we did Persona, I think I only docked it 1 point. Because maybe I docked it on Story, but I know I didn't dock it points on combat, visuals, or audio. I know I gave all of
I'll
those.
look back in there.
Say what?
I'll look when I get back in there to see what you actually rated.
years back.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Hi.
Welcome back. We were just discussing how Tails became number one.
Yeah, that was interesting how that worked out.
It's going to be. I'll be interested to get the reaction.
Yeah, it's our show, so we get to decide.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah, it's our show.
Let me look here.
I was just curious. I was asking Scott what I rated Persona 5 because I can't remember. I can't remember who rated Persona 5.
It wasn't me because I didn't finish it.
It was just you.
It was just me.
Your final score was a 92.
How did I rate Tails higher than Persona 5?
Your taste
let's see.
change.
Oh,
It's
you
okay.
did actually give it 93. So you gave it one more point to Tails.
How
Okay.
the fuck did I do that?
Go back and retcon it. Like,
I was
no,
about to say,
I'm
I need to
sorry.
retcon Persona 5. No.
All right, give me 1 second to get the music ready. Forgot to do that before, but I do have the track, so it should be good.
So that's where this rating system can actually kind of come back and bite you. Because if I sat down and I had Tails and Persona 5 in front of me and I could only play one, I would pick Persona 5.
So
Yeah.
I think what we need to do next, Corey, is we need to look at maybe start playing one of the other Tales games here soon.
My next game is going to be Triangle Strategy, but then after that, I could play a Tails game.
Okay. Well, I need to finish up Triangle Strategy too. So there we go.
I plan on starting it today.
Sweet. I'm on chapter 7. Oh, well, I'll tell you what. Nah, I may not. Hopefully, because I am in chapter 13 of Xenoblade Chronicles, and
We can
I
review that if
fucking
you fit.
love that game.
Yeah, we can finish it or review that. I know it was like like last year, Corey, or was it the year before that we played it?
It was right
think it was
before we
last
moved down here.
Okay,
I think that's the last game you played before we moved.
gotcha.
It is so good. I'm still waiting though for Nintendo's store to update to give the special edition for Xenoblade 3. So I'm gonna buy
Oh,
that
yeah.
sucker when that comes out.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's try to keep this like under 30 minutes. Okay.
We don't have to do.
All right,
we don't
well-
have to really do much.
We'll
Yeah.
fly through it.
I do have one question though. Are we gonna count this as episode 113 or just as like a bonus?
So my question is this: do we want to do as a bonus episode, like going forward, or do we split the RPG shows? I mean,
I feel
Just-
conflicted about that.
yeah, I don't know. We could just do episode 112 part
Well,
dose.
To be fair, you all said you didn't have next week figured out, right? So why don't you make this episode 113, and that way you don't have to plan next week?
Because then
Or-
it'll be late.
Or we
Oh
do
yeah,
this.
you're right.
We do this one as episode. Well, we can't because we already announced it was 112 in the episode earlier. We could have just done this one as 112 and then release the episode one Tales of Review Part 2 the following week. So
I say since the review went long, maybe make this one a bonus, and then
We'll figure
going
it out
forward, just try to
after that.
tack it onto the episode.
okay, good call.
All right. In that case, to save time, I'm gonna skip the intro and outro.
Okay.
And we'll launch right into it.
Yep.
Okay, you guys ready then?
Let's go.
Let's
I'm
go.
gonna start a new recording. Okay. Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi. Welcome to the RPG After Years, your weekly show covering all things RPGs from the past, present, and future. So this is a bonus episode that we're doing. Our Tales of Arise review part 2 ran a little long, so we didn't want to put on another 15 30 minutes of talking about the RPG Club. So we're covering the first RPG Club for Final Fantasy XIII today. I'm Scott,
I'm Rich.
and with us
And I'm-
today is
I'm Corey.
welcome in Corey. So Corey's already here. Corey loves Final Fantasy XIII. We figured we'd keep him on for this part. For those not in the know, the RPG Club is a book club like segment we do every other week, in which we, along with the podcast community, play through the same sections of the same game around the same time. So the current goal was to finish chapter 3, and that was due by Sunday, May 15th, which is the same day that we are recording this. So, are you guys ready to convene the club?
Let's do it.
All right, everyone, quiet down. All rise. We're here today to bring to order the next session of the RPG Club. All in favor? All opposed? And looks like the ayes have it. Then let the RPG Club commence!
Alright, so I guess we can start out with just like some general thoughts about the beginning of Final Fantasy XIII. Rich, do you want to go first?
Yes. So Final Fantasy 13 definitely hits fast with what's going on. You definitely have a lot of questions and you don't know what's really happening. Everybody's in robes and it's just, you don't know what you're getting into quite yet, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, so this is actually probably my 6th or 7th time through this game. So I'm very familiar with it. And I know this is Corey's 3rd playthrough. So Corey really loves the game. And I'll agree with what you said, Rich, about how it's really confusing at the start. But I remember the second time I played the game, I enjoyed the story a lot more. Like I liked FF13 the first time I beat it. The second run through, I was like, I really like this game. So, but what do you think about the start, Corey?
I mean, I love it. Even by like today's standards, it looks amazing. It has aged remarkably well. I do like the little bit of mystery that's involved. But like Rich said, I mean, it hits fast. So it throws a lot at you at once. But overall, I think it's a very strong opening.
Whenever I play this game with somebody, and I believe I've shown this game to at least 4 different people now, I think. Before I even get off the title screen, I usually explain the concept of Fal'Cie and l'Cie and Seath, and also explain, hey, we're in the middle of a purge. People are getting deported. I know the game does explain that, but I feel like just that little bit of context helps people understand like what they're getting into at the start of the game. I don't know what they could have done to fix that better, to make it not so confusing at the start, but I wish they had figured something out.
Yeah.
So what about the characters? What about some early thoughts about, we meet most of the main cast just in chapter 1. So what are your thoughts so far on them?
I love Lightning. She's phenomenal. She's a badass. You could definitely feel the Cloud strife that they went with. And you could definitely, you just got Fem Cloud with a little bit of Squall in there. Because, Squall is very brooding and just doesn't talk much and things like that, or it's very direct to the point. So it was Cloud. Snow, cocky asshole, thinks he's, top of the world. Hope, somebody in the Discord did kind of correct me a little bit, and, I kind of see the point to it, where he's very emotional. Vanille, lover, just acts like a kid. And Zaz is the dad. I enjoy him. He's probably one of my favorite characters.
Shh, we don't know that he's a dad yet.
Dad figure. He's a dad figure.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And as far as Hope goes, y'all know how I feel about Hope. One of my favorite Final Fantasy characters, but we haven't gotten to the cool Hope parts yet.
Yeah.
He's still in his very naive stage.
Yeah. We start to see a little bit of that in the next chapter, but that's the next chapter, so we can't talk about that. What about you, Corey? Do you remember like the first time you played this game, what your early impressions of the characters were?
I mean, nothing that you guys haven't already said, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just get into what actually happens here. So we start in chapter 1, and we basically, like I said, what's going on here is people are being deported en masse from the planet of Cocoon to the hell-like planet of Pulse after a war that happened. Let's see, there was a war 500 years ago, so everybody on Cocoon is just terrified of Pulse. And a Pulse Fal'Cie, which are like enemy gods, I guess you could say, was discovered in the seaside town of Bodom. And so people are so afraid of anything Pulsian that they have decided that they can't take the risk. Everybody in the town of Bodom is contaminated, and they're literally being taken off the planet to another planet. So we open on the train that's being taken off, and quickly things go to hell because our protagonist, Lightning, stages an insurrection on the train, and she takes out the guards. And quickly, all, full-scale war breaks out between the people that are getting deported and the Cocoon military, which is basically known as the Sanctum. We meet Lightning, we meet Saz, they team up, and they fight this giant scorpion mech. And it's basically just a tutorial for the battle system. But how did you guys feel about this opening scene?
I thought it was great. I mean, it's really fast paced. You find there's something I'll talk about in chapter 2. Chapter 3. I'll make a comment about it. But you could definitely see how the training that Lightning has is very top notch, and Saz is just kind of hanging back and stuff like that. But there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I like how it just kind of throws you into it.
There's a term for that, in media res. You start the story in the middle.
Oh yeah, they did.
And another thing that this game does, not quite yet, but there's also the concept of the 13 days that it flashes back to in a non-linear fashion that illustrates what led to where the game starts. I've seen some varying criticisms of that because they don't show you the scenes in order. But I think some things could have been elaborated on, but I kind of like that system myself.
It's nice to see, like, it shows characters at different points of those 13 days and what was happening leading up to those events. You see Saz's events, you see Lightning's, Vanille's, Hope's, all of theirs, how everything is all connected in a way. So I thought it was done nicely.
Right. So Lightning and Saz are heading through this area called the Hanging Edge, which is where the war zone is. It's on the edge of Cocoon. It's where Pulse forces almost got into Cocoon in the past during the war. And you learn that Lightning used to be a soldier, that she quit for some reason. And then we don't really know what Saz's motivations are at this point, but he's trying to keep up with Lightning and accompany her. So they do some battles, you fight some enemies and shit. And then it switches over to Snow, who is the leader of a ragtag vigilante group known as Nora. And Snow is kind of like this bro-ish character, just thinks he's all that and that nothing can go wrong. He calls himself a hero over and over. Heroes don't need plans. I'm gonna wring his neck.
They kind of need plans.
Yeah, maybe they wouldn't be in this situation if they had a plan. I don't know. But anyway, so they're leading the resistance to fight against the military and try to, get the heck out of there. You meet the other members of Nora, Godot, and LeBro are in your party for a hot second here. There's also Mackie and Huge, but I mean, to be honest, they're really not that important in this game. But anyway, so you fight through those. Snow's beating shit up, and he gets to some of the other deportees, and they decide to have the resistance people like fight with them. So they give them guns to participate. However, there's one woman in particular who decides to join in, and we don't learn her name, but she is a mother who's there with her son, and so she takes a gun. You get the famous line here, "Moms are tough." Snow's like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yep." So you go on a little further, and then Snow kind of gets fucked up a little bit, and this giant tank like shoots at him. And it looks like he's down and out, but then cut. I almost said her name. That's a spoiler. Sorry. uncut. But then the mom actually saves him with, apparently she had a rocket launcher. But then, of course, another tank appears and fires. It collapses the road, and a bunch of people fall to their death. Snow tries to save the mom, and her last line to him before she passes out and he loses his grip on her hand is she says, "Get him home." So Snow's like kind of bothered by that. Like, who's him? Who was she talking about? So that's going to be a point of drama going forward. But unfortunately, the mom dies.
Oh,
Were you guys upset at this part?
I mean, it was a little sad.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know enough about them to truly care yet.
She got like 2 scenes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but is it the motivate? Because at the time, though, when you first play this game, you're like, is that the motivation for Snow now? Is that his motivation? So
Right.
you also see this mysterious boy like freak out as he sees this lady get dropped.
Yep.
So
So eventually the military lowers down the structure called the Pulse Vestige, which is where the Fal'Cie is. And it looks like they basically figure out that they were never going to do the purge. It was just like a ruse to kill all these people because they can't be allowed to live on because of Pulse. And you learn that Lightning is actually, her target is the Fal'Cie. We don't know why just yet, but she wants to kill it. And for some reason, Saz is along for the ride. She does try to leave him at one point, but he prevents that. I will say the AMP technology, they make a big deal making it look really cool, but then like it gets broken immediately, and we don't get to see it for a long time after this again.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so they keep going. They fight some more enemies. It switches back to Snow. Snow's like feeling kind of downtrodden, like he can't believe this is happening. He gets kind of snapped out of it by Godot. And so you kind of get this impression at this point that Snow, well, you learn, I think, at this point that apparently the Fal'Cie has kidnapped Snow's fiance, Sarah. And so he wants to go and get to the Fal'Cie as well. So he eventually takes off for that. And then it kind of switches perspectives to these other characters, Hope and Vanille. So Hope is this 14-year-old young boy. The woman, the mom that just died, was his mother. So he's pissed about that, and he wants to talk to Snow about it. You can see he's like developing this hatred for Snow.
I was about to say, he wants to do more than talk about it.
He blames Snow for what happened. Of course, you know, the drama is Snow doesn't even know who Hope is. So Vanille takes off her cloak. She looks like Pocahontas up in here. When I played this with my best friend a long time ago, he said that as soon as she took her cloak off, he was like, "That's a main character. You don't look like that." But yeah, so Vanille is kind of strange, kind of out of place here. But she encourages Hope to go and talk to Snow, like he'll always regret it if he doesn't. So Vanille and Hope steal one of the air bikes from Nora, and they head off to the Vestige as well. And, you know, one thing looks to another, and all 5 of our characters are on a collision course with each other towards the Pulse Vestige. And that's the end of Chapter 1. So, thoughts and opinions on Chapter 1?
It sets it up nicely.
Yeah, great opening. Gives
of
you
action.
gives you just enough information to get you interested, but it still keeps, you know, there's still plenty left to find out.
Yep. And there's lots of action. You get battles. You start to learn the combat system, although it's really still holding your hand at this point. I think you learn about the stagger system in here, all kinds of stuff, but it really hasn't opened the gates for us yet. But do you want to do Chapter 2, Rich?
Yes. Well, first off, the tutorials. Did you even do the tutorials? Because I didn't. I skipped them.
We're doing them this time because we're playing with Lauren, and this is her first playthrough.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, well, that makes sense. Because
if it was just us, no, we would skip it.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about Chapter 2. Not a lot really happens in Chapter 2 except towards the end of it, so we'll kind of go through those. Hope and Vanille crash land into the Pulse Fal'Cie building, the Vestige. It's kind of weird, though, because you see Vanille grabs an item, grabs a weapon, which weirdly is there, and she knows that. Sure. So she grabs that. Hope uses
It's a
his
very
little
unique
boomerang.
weapon, by the way.
Yeah, it's like a fish hook thingy.
It's kind of sad we don't get to see more of that weapon or Hope's boomerang in the game.
Yeah. So you have those. So the group, Vanille and Hope, make their way through the area, just kind of talking about what's happening, and Vanille's kind of pulling them along, and let's find Snow. Let's talk to him. So there's that motivation through the building. Snow is there. He's making his way up to the top. He is just going through it as well, just trying to get to the top of it. He's keeps proclaiming, "I'm coming, baby. The
Your hero is here."
Yeah, he's come to save you. And then you have Hope and you have Lightning and Zaz making their way up through it as well, and they're just kind of like trying to figure out how they're going to get from one area to the next of it.
This is where Lightning reveals to Zaz that the Fal'Cie has her sister, and that her sister has been turned into a l'Cie.
Yeah, so
which is where we get this concept introduced of l'Cie.
Yeah, and Zaz is basically saying, like, do you not realize that she's just dead? Like, she's an enemy of Cocoon. You should have just killed her. So,
and so l'Cie are doomed no matter what they do. If they don't, they get given a focus, which is a mission by the Fal'Cie that brands them. If they fail, they turn into like a zombie-like Seath, which we get introduced to here shortly. Mm-hmm. If they succeed, they turn to crystal, which is like some people think it's a form of like everlasting sleep or peace. Other people thinks it's as bad as death.
So as all of them make their way to the top, they all converge on Sarah. They finally find Sarah, and she passes out, and she's kind of having you can tell something's going wrong. She looks at Snow and Lightning and tells them to save Cocoon. And then
I thought it was a cool twist that Lightning and Snow were interrelated. Like her sister, Snow's fiance, same person. They
hate each other.
Yeah. The first time I played the game, I remember that kind of threw me for a loop.
So she turns to Crystal, where Snow is basically like, don't you know the stories? She's not dead. She's still alive. She'll come back. They're all fighting each other a little bit about it. Lightning is pissed. That's when Cocoon, the Sanctum forces, actually start blasting the Pulse Fal'Cie to destroy it. That's their mission, is to destroy it, get rid of all evidence of that. As it's going on, the back room opens up, and Lightning says, I'm going to go kill this thing. Maybe it will give Sarah back. So the group's like, oh, all right, I guess we're going to go try to fight this thing. They don't figure out how they're going to do anything. The Pulse Fal'Cie wakes up, and Zaz is there. He's like, I guess might as well fight. Snow is like, tell me why I could save Sarah, how I can save Cocoon. And Lightning is like, I'm just going to stab you in the face. So that happens. And eventually it turns into the Pulse Fal'Cie basically erupts into this, would you say like a dream state of some sort?
Yep.
Okay. Where the Pulse Fal'Cie finally is shown in a big realization. This is Anima. In case you guys don't know, this is the Anima. And they all get branded in a sense. They all get grabbed, and these electrical things hit them. And then they see a weird dream state of fuzzy images of monsters and like things happening all around. And that's it. All of a sudden it goes black, and you see the vestige fall. The vestige falls all to the bottom and explodes into crystal. And then everything turns to crystal.
The lake below. Yeah.
Lake Bresha.
You also get the flashback at the very end here of the night that 2 days ago when Snow proposed to Sarah and then took her on the romantic air bike ride through the fireworks, which seems dangerous, but
yeah, totally dangerous.
The fireworks.
I do like that scene though. So, thoughts on chapter 2?
Setting up nicely.
Yeah, we're starting to get to like the main thrust of the plot now here. The chapter itself is a little boring to me until the very end. Like you said, it's like a lot of dungeoneering, but it's also fairly short. But it's nice seeing the conflict between the characters. Are we all on Lightning's side in this Lightning versus Snow thing at the beginning?
Yes.
I would say so.
Okay. I'm glad you feel that way too, Rich, because I kind of thought that you might be a Team Snow person. So
I mean, I like his motive. Okay, so I do like what he's wanting to do. I really do. However, he's living in a weird fantasy world where he thinks he's invincible and he's, the hero, and he's put everybody at risk for this chick. Just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah, he needs a big dose of reality.
Yeah. He believes that their love will save everything, and it's all that matters.
But he's so tunnel visioned that he can't see anything outside of like his own goals. And you're like, dude, like other people matter too.
Yeah.
He's a dick.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also you could kind of say the same thing about Lightning, that she's just like so tunnel vision and focused. And I mean, she can come off as, a cold bitch.
Oh yeah, she is too. But I like her better.
So there's something about her that you like it.
Yeah. All right. Well,
choke me, mommy.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Step on me.
Yes.
Step on me.
So.
All right, Corey, we gave you chapter 3.
All right. So chapter 3. So like Rich said, so the vestige has fallen and you're in the lake below now, Lake Brescia, but everything is crystal. So you're walking in this big, just crystal maze kind of. And so
it's really pretty.
It's really pretty. But then as you're like starting to come to, you see your party, they're like, trying to regroup and gather their thoughts. But while they're doing this, they figure out that they've now been branded as Lassie. And this causes, obviously they weren't really expecting it, but Hope starts to freak out that he's been branded a Lassie. And so they talk about their brand and whatnot. And then I forget who, but somehow they come across the crystal form of Sarah. So the crystal has survived the fall, but she's crystal. So when they see this, Snow decides that, he's going to fight fate and he's going to save Cocoon, and Hope is still over here freaking out and panicking and doing Hope things. So they all gather around Sarah's crystal and talk a little bit more, and they decide that they're going to try and dig Sarah's crystal out from where it's at. But while they're doing this, I think while they're digging, is that when Psycom shows up?
Yeah, I think it's that second, the scorpion from the beginning,
No,
right?
not yet. That's almost, but that's the interaction between Hope, not Hope, Snow and Lightning, where he's proclaiming he's going to do all these things.
That's
whereas
right.
Lightning gets really pissed off and starts punching him in the face repeatedly.
That's right. And then so they kind of split off.
Yeah.
After that, and then
but
Snow stays behind.
They can afford to stay behind. And by the way, I don't condone violence. We should solve issues with our words. But whenever I see this scene, I'm like, yes, Lightning decking Snow.
He's got a punchable face.
Yeah. So they get in this fight, and like Scott said, Lightning says, we can't afford to stay behind, and things go down. Well,
I also
Lightning
love the line where Snow says, I can protect Sarah and save Cocoon. And she says, great job so far, and then walks off.
Oh, yeah. The sass of Lightning. You love her. So the group splits off. Snow says he's going to stay behind. And we also see a little scene here where Hope, you can see that he wants to, tell Snow something. But Snow kind of interrupts him and basically says, go with her. She'll protect you and whatnot. And so Hope walks off and follows Lightning as well. So she's going to lead the group and try to get out of here because we're basically in ruins, and there's Psycom soldiers out there, and they're looking for us, and we know they are. So you follow Lightning, and eventually you find a ship, and you're thinking that this is your way out. Well, unfortunately, though, before you can get out, you get attacked by a Psycom interceptor. And why is there an odd owl?
Oh,
that mechanical owl.
Yeah, the hoo.
Hoo. I will say, for those that didn't notice the owl somehow, just keep an eye out for the owl. It's important.
Yes. Yeah, so you go through this battle with the Psycom interceptor, and then it flashes back to Snow, who is still like using his weapon to try to dig Sarah's body out, and then Psycom shows up to fight Snow as well. But how Snow's going to fight back, but he's massively outnumbered. He's overpowered. But during this conflict, we see that the Shiva sisters have decided to present themselves to Snow, and this is where the game kind of walks you through how you're going to tame these eidolons. So you get this nice little tutorial, and you're Snow fighting fighting the Shiva sisters, and you win. And then all of a sudden, you have now tamed the Shiva sisters, and it shows that the sisters can turn into a motorcycle, and Snow hops on, and they ride out of there and get out of trouble. And then
scissor to do it.
Jesus Christ.
Well, he doesn't take off. He basically just captures it, and this mysterious woman shows up.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Talks to him. Yeah,
that's right. The mysterious woman. Yeah, that's right. And then after we see that little scene with Snow and this mysterious woman having a little chat, we flash back to Lightning and the group, and they take the ship that they found and they get away from the cops. And then all we know is that towards the end of the scene, we crash land somewhere.
This part is very Star Wars, this airship battle.
Yeah.
it's awesome. Well, there is something in the airship deal after the Snow issue. There's a news clip that they show within that ship that the Psycom leader, which is Daisley.
Yeah.
Daisley announces he's basically like the Pope, I should say.
Right.
He announces that the purge, how traumatic it was, and how much of a tragedy it was to find a Pulse Fal'Cie, but the relocation, the purge, was a success. Everybody is now in their new homes in Pulse, and the Pulse menace or whatever is gone, and that's it. They basically just lied.
Yep. Not the government.
Yeah, no. Who would do that?
Yeah. So that sets us up nicely for chapter 4, which will be how we start off the next segment. Thoughts on this first segment, guys?
Good stuff. Ready to go to the next part of it.
I think the game really they made sure to take their time to walk you through this game. So there's a lot of tutorials, but there's a lot to learn. This game has a lot of stuff packed into it. So they do a good job of kind of letting you get comfortable with the fast-paced battle system, with the Crystarium. I like how they set it up.
Yep. And basically, now that we've got our nice plot set up, we know what this game's going to be about, more or less. I personally, other than the confusion of maybe the terms and not understanding what's going on, I think this is a really strong opening. I remember the first time I played this, at this point, I was invested, wanted to know what happened and see how all the game, the story is character driven. Like, you want to see the personal conflicts of these characters and all that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody else thinks. Yep. Shall we jump into the listener feedback?
Let's do it. So Brett from Skeleton House, I don't really understand what's going on beyond the Final Fantasy Crystals business, and don't like the characters at all yet, except Saz. But the battle system is a lot of fun once they actually let you use it. Despite not liking the characters, I don't hate them like I did the last time I tried to play through 13. Overall good time, thumbs up emoji, much better than expected. So Brett is a little bit on the fence.
Corey, I told you people hate the characters of this game. So
they can be wrong.
Disa said, that opening with 2 exclamation marks. It's still amazing to see that opening video. It gets you dreaming of adventure exactly like a Final Fantasy should do. The combat in this game is also just absolutely amazing. It's a perfect blend of the old and new, and I wish they went back to something more along these lines. Combat has a tendency to feel a bit slow and clumsy when they go full action-based. All in all, I just loved getting back into this, and the segment flew by. Can't wait to play more on Monday. My birthday is on Sunday. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
I guess it's still Sunday for her.
Yeah.
It began with a bang and leaves you imagining adventures to come. So D says more positive on it. So that's good.
Nice. Frost states, this game has everything. Fun, fast-paced combat, a cast of characters with real flaws, inept stormtroopers, giant boss enemies, and Space Pope. It's very true. I didn't think about that.
I mean, where's the lie?
Yeah, it's true.
What's that, Bill? Corey, that makes me think of that Bill Hader SNL skit you love so much.
Oh my God, Stefan. This place has everything.
This game has everything.
Overall, I think the game does a good job of showing you the ropes in these opening chapters, allowing you to get accustomed to the Crystarium and the battle system and easing you into the combat slowly. Question though, how often do you think Hope is getting boners with all the hugs Vanille is throwing his way?
Maybe that's why he tells her to get off in that one scene. He didn't want her to feel anything.
I mean, I do like a redhead.
Jesus Christ.
I get that.
And he is 14, so we all know how 14-year-olds are.
Just running around with a boner the entire time.
Pretty much.
Jesus.
Rob K says, really, really enjoying the game so far. The battle system is good once you get your head around it, except for the bullshit that is game over if the main dies. Totally agree.
Hate that.
The game looks great, even on a PS3, and sounds even better. Probably one of my favorite FF soundtracks so far. I'm actually enjoying how linear it is as well. I'm super burnt out on open world games at the moment, so it's much more enjoyable when I tried and play it at launch.
Yes, another person that's finally feeling the burn of open world.
The linearity does not bother me because they did such a good job on the story. So it doesn't bother me at all. But I also agree with his comment about the bullshit that if the main dies, it's game over. I do hate that part.
Yep.
That's they fixed that in 13.2, which is why I say the 13.2 battle system is better. But ROB says, loving the game so far. The battle system is fun, especially now that I'm getting the chance to build my own paradigms. Can't wait for more options to open up. The story is definitely less confusing when you've played it before, so I feel like I'm actually enjoying it more, knowing what's actually happening now. Always fun to watch Snow get punched. Saz and Vanille, loved them. Hope, ... Lightning is one of my favorite protagonists of the FF series, and always loved her. I do hate the main character dying ends the game definitively. Was a bad choice on that, but otherwise loving the game so far. Also, the locations are awesome. Love the frozen lake. The Hope hate, I can't get down with it.
Well, early on, I can see why people would not like Hope, but
He
I mean,
is
there's
such a whiny bitch. But I get it.
he is whiny, but
I get it.
as we progress through the game, I think we'll see how it goes.
He's a rich kid who watched his mom die and got deported because he happened to be on vacation. That would,
I think I'd be a little bitchy too.
Yeah.
I love how you break that down just like that.
Yeah.
All right. So Kai, they, them. This segment is largely a great opening, followed by what may be the weakest gameplay section. Ooh. The characters on show were fantastic, and we get a great idea of what each character stands for the most part. Vanille and Saz get the weakest showcase here, even if they are the grounding for the team otherwise. The music is fantastic, of course, and the FMVs are just something else. Even when they are in lower res than everything else, overall, I love this game, and I'm very excited moving forward.
Agreed.
Yep.
Well stated.
I like it. So that's it for the listener feedback today, and I think we're going to call the club to a close here. Anything else we want to say about this section before we move on?
I'm super excited to keep going.
Let's do this.
So the next segment is chapters 4 and 5. And so you'll know you're done with chapter 5 after there's a scene where you see what Snow's up to, and he gets on an air bike. That's the last scene of this chapter. That'll be due on Sunday, May 29th. But for now, I think we are going to call this club to a close. Thank you, gentlemen. You can find all of our plugs and all that shit in the show notes, and we look forward to the next club. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
fellas.
Yay.
Yeah, yes.
I really think that Tales review was a good episode too. So I'm happy about that.
I'm still pissed that somehow I rated it higher than P5R.
That makes me laugh.
Yeah. All right, I'm super late for my stream now.
Yeah,
still
I
need-
gotta
still
go
need
do
to
some stuff too. So
So-
I'll see you guys later.
I'll let you know
guys.
when the stuff's uploaded, Rich.
All right, sounds good. I'll get it
Bye,
done.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.